So it's the 37th year of tuning in the Grand Xia dynasty. It's dead of winter, and I'm freezing my absolute butt off. Up here in these green Ox Ridge Mountains. Let me rewind to 3 months back. I was just an average guy living on Earth, who literally worked himself into an early grave. Yep, dropped dead on the spot from endless overtime. All to chip away at a mortgage. Super heroic, right? Cut to now. I suddenly wake up as some teenage hunter, stranded out in the absolute boonies. At first, I actually thought, hey, maybe my modern intellect can help me make a name for myself. I can invent something cool, or maybe just play everyone like a fiddle. Yeah, no, this place is just a total nightmare with extra steps. The local government is completely corrupt. The taxes are soul-crushing, and neighborhood syndicates call all the shots. Oh, and apparently, legit monsters lurk deep in these peaks and eat people for breakfast. Sounds fun, huh? As we speak, I'm wading through knee-deep snow in a padded coat that's been passed down through so many generations. The actual cotton stuffing rotted out ages ago. It's pretty much just a jacket-shaped illusion. Right now, I'm checking a snare I set 3 days back. I even threw in a precious piece of dried rat meat to use as bait. Well, the trap snapped shut, all right, but whatever got caught managed to bust out. All that's left is a gnawed-up scrap of my rat meat and some weasel prints vanishing into the woods. Gee, thanks a lot, weasel. Truly appreciate it. My stomach is absolutely roaring at me. I've survived on a single frozen roll of black bread for 3 days. Just one. I'm literally eating snow right now, just to trick my gut into shutting up for a second. But here's the real kicker. Tomorrow is tax day. Well, not actual taxes. The mountain tax, which is basically just protection money. The Black Tiger Syndicate rules over every single pass in these mountains, meaning every single forager, herbalist, and lumberjack must fork over 500 copper coins monthly, or get totally wrecked. Digging into my wallet, I take stock of my cash. 37 coins. I'm short 463. To put it bluntly, I am completely screwed. And lest anyone thinks I'm just being dramatic, old Lou, that guy from the village's East End, lacked 50 coins. This past month, those Black Tiger thugs cracked 3 of his ribs right in public, left him out in the freezing snow all night. And by sunrise, he was a frozen corpse. Done for. Then there's our neighbor Guzzy, who mouthed off just once. Just once, and they dragged him off to the Black Wind Mine. 0 people ever make it back from that place. It's pretty much a direct ticket straight to the netherworld, plus a ton of forced labor. As for this body's real dad, ditto, just a hard-working hunter, who ventured further into the wilderness, hoping to scrape together the extortion fee. Some beast devoured him, didn't even leave scraps. All he bequeathed to me was a drafty cabin, a mulberry wood bow, that's so ancient it belongs in a museum, and this lovely outstanding debt to a bunch of mobsters. So look at me now, a reincarnated transmigrator, who's on the verge of getting beaten to a pulp. Over a mere 463 copper coins I don't possess. I didn't even score a cheat system. No overpowered golden finger. Not even a legendary old master hiding inside a ring. Zilch. Just severe frostbite and a growling stomach. But honestly, I already kicked the bucket once by overworking like a total moron. There's no way I'm going out like that a second time. No matter if I have to survive like a gutter rat. I'll make it. I unsheathe my bow, worn completely smooth by 2 generations of use. Its string practically shredded, and opt to give it one last shot before nightfall. If I can bag that wildfowl I spotted earlier, I might just secure a couple more bucks. A rabbit would be way better, though. That's worth a whole pouch of rice. I hunker down and slink forward through the snow drifts, resembling a famished, freezing, and miserable lone wolf. Suddenly, there's a rustle in the dead brush ahead. A brightly colored pheasant pops its head out, foraging for scraps buried beneath the frost. This is the moment. This is my chance. I notch a homemade arrow. The shaft is warped, and the iron tip is corroded and blunt. Can't afford anything nicer, though. Pretty much the story of my life. I freeze my breathing. The gale is blowing flurries right into my eyes. I try to recall every piece of advice my old man ever taught me about marksmanship, zeroing in on that bird. Yet my hands won't stop trembling. I'm far too cold and starving. The target keeps drifting out of my crosshairs, as if it's mocking me on purpose. Hold still, come on, hold still. I release the string. The arrow wobbles through the air like a wet noodle, and plops into the drifts. Easily 10 paces wide of that chicken. It didn't even graze a branch. On its descent, the pheasant straight up squawks at me. I'm positive it sounded just like a laugh. Then it glides off into the brush. How tragic. Utterly embarrassing. No clutch moment here. No stroke of divine luck. Just a weak, hungry brat who can't even bag a chubby bird. Shaking my head, I head over to retrieve my arrow. Because even a botched shot costs too much to lose. When you're flat broke like this, the exact moment my fingers grip the shaft, bam, something detonates right inside my head, ringing out like a massive cathedral bell. The entire world just completely grinds to a halt. Then this faint blue, transparent display materializes right before my eyes. No heads up, no flashy graphics whatsoever. Just a couple rows of old-school text, glimmering softly in the dim, snowy light. Wang Qing, human, lifespan, 16 out of 52 years, currently starving and freezing, running on empty. Next up, talent. Heaven rewards diligence. Unique destiny. The breakdown reads, 1 part sweat, 1 part gain. Out of all the paths beneath the heavens, only hard work remains infallible. Every single training session in any martial art guarantees steady advancement, bypasses all bottlenecks, zero regression, leading straight to the absolute peak. Current martial arts, none. And check it out, a tiny extra note. To assist the host through this urgent predicament, the system provides 1 complimentary hunter perk. Rudimentary archery. Note, this skill isn't a martial art. I just gawk at the thing. Then I give my thigh a squeeze so brutal I nearly yelp. It's no daydream. This is the real deal. Holy crap, this is it. The golden finger. The ultimate cheat code. That transmigrator starter pack I figured I'd never get. My pulse is pounding so violently I can feel it vibrating in my teeth. A rush of blood floods my brain, and suddenly I'm burning up, even though I'm literally stuck in a snowstorm. Heaven rewards diligence. Effort always yields results. See, in a dumpster fire world like this one, busting your ass usually gets you absolutely nowhere. Countless people grind through blistering summers and freezing winters their whole lives, only to hit a ceiling they can never breach. Others sweat for decades, just to get smoked by some rich family's kid who just popped a pill. Yet this interface tells me that as long as I practice, I'll level up, no limits, and absolutely no regression. Do you get the scale of this? Give me enough time and the willingness to put in work, and my power ceiling becomes infinite. This is a gamer's absolute dream. This is a grinder's paradise. I force myself to chill out. Take a deep breath. Don't go shouting into the void like a total idiot. That's exactly how you draw predators. Time to test it. I pluck the arrow from the snow, wipe it clean, and knock it once more. This time around, my mindset completely shifts. The despair vanishes. The panic just evaporates. I'm locked in, more focused than I've ever been in either of my lives. Closing my eyes, I visualize every detail of my old man's lessons. Feet set shoulder-width apart. Stance squared sideways to the target. Relax the shoulders. Drop the elbows. Breathe through the movement. 3 fingers gripping the string. My arms still feel like jelly, but I pour everything I've got into this single shot. Twang, the arrow looses. It still lacks power, but it's way steadier than before. Thunk, it bites right into a pine tree 10 paces away, piercing a solid inch into the wood. As the fletching vibrates, the blue screen pops up. Serious archery practice completed. +1 EXP basic archery, uninitiated. 2 out of 100, but it's way more than just stats. The second that text pops up, I feel this slight, warm sensation surge straight into my arms from out of nowhere. It's like a tiny snake of pure heat, gliding right through my muscles and tendons, melting away the tension, and it feels like unseen hands are recalibrating. My muscle memory, the exact vibe of that previous release, the anchor point, and how the breeze deflected the arrow. Every bit of it gets seared crystal clear into my mind. This is legit. It's actual real-time feedback. In a jacked-up, doomed world like this, these tiny digits on a floating HUD are my ultimate lifeline, my sole ticket out. As long as I train, I level up. As long as I keep grinding, I make it through. Glancing upward, the sky is turning pitch black. Usually, I'd have to hustle back to the village before dusk, because these peaks, after dark, are basically hell's waiting room. But tonight, I'm staying put. That drafty old hut won't keep me safe. Only this bow and this luminous interface can do that. I have exactly 1 night before the Black Tiger gang comes looking for me. It's all or nothing. I pull out my remaining rock-hard roll, stuff it into my mouth with a clump of snow, and force it down. My gaze turns fierce. Beast mode activated. Before those punks roll up tomorrow, I'm going to farm this basic archery stat until my arms literally fall off, even if I have to hurl blood to do it. I'll grind my way to survival. Night blankets Green Ox Ridge, and it's totally pitch black. No moon, no stars, nothing. The sole illumination is the dim shimmer reflecting off the snow. Somewhere far off in the dark, creatures are howling, and I'm actively ignoring whatever they might be. I locate a clearing behind a massive, wind-blocking boulder, hemmed in by withered shrubs. Good enough. There's no way I'm making a campfire. Sparking up a flame after dark in this range is pretty much flashing a giant neon sign that screams, "Come and get it," to every monster and rogue nearby. So, I just start letting arrows fly over and over again. Knock, draw, aim, loose. That's my entire reality right now. Twang, basic archery level 1. Twang, basic archery level 1. Twang, basic archery level 1. Early on, my arms are absolutely burning. After every single set of 10, I'm forced to pause and massage my numb muscles to revive them. But as the EXP slowly accumulates, those faint surges of warmth begin to compound. They transform from barely noticeable trickles into actual rivers of heat, surging straight through my arms, shoulders, and upper back. And check out the wildest part. My physique is literally altering. These pathetic, starved noodle arms are tightening up, growing firmer and more solid. The fatigue melts away quicker with each cycle, overtaken by this sensation of sheer fullness and power. This type of tedious, mindless level grinding would drive anyone else completely nuts. But to me, in this moment, is the most glorious thing on earth. Simply because I can feel my power growing. It isn't some empty guarantee. It's tangible. Every individual shot counts. My palms are totally shredded, the bowstring digging deep, bloody lacerations into my flesh. Fresh tears splitting open directly over the old ones. I couldn't care less. My vision is sharpening in the pitch black, growing clearer, and way more dialed in. Basic archery, not yet unlocked. 99 out of 100. Just one more. I inhale a draft of air so bitter. It feels like I'm swallowing razor blades. Yet my mind has never been this sharp. I draw back the string, and this go around, it feels totally different. This hefty, stubborn bow that always used to fight me suddenly feels just like an extension of my own arm. 20 paces out, there's a tree roughly the width of a forearm. In this pitch black, it's a barely visible silhouette. But to me, it's glowing. Twang. The arrow tears through the night like black lightning. Thunk. Right through the middle of the trunk. The fletching is still vibrating, and then my entire body jolts, as if a bolt of lightning just fried me. Basic archery unlocked. 1/1-000. Active buff granted. Steady as a rock, steady as a rock. My arms draw the bow as if guided by divine forces. Muscle memory locked down within 30 paces. Hit whatever you aim at, totally unfazed by wind or snow. Slight boost to physical arm strength. A surge of heat, 10 times more intense than before, washes through my entire body. My arms feel strong enough to smash right through walls. My eyesight sharpens, allowing me to spot the fine texture of tree bark, dozens of meters away in the dead of night. I slump into the snow, sucking in air. My stomach feels like it's burning up from starvation, and my physical energy is completely drained. But I'm grinning like a total fool, smiling from ear to ear. If that pheasant crossed my path right now, it'd be dead in one shot, no doubt about it. Glancing east, the horizon is beginning to brighten. That pale, grayish tint right before dawn breaks. Time to go hunting. I cram snow into my mouth, and my eyes shift into pure apex predator mode. With my archery skills leveled up, I can finally track down the worthwhile prey. Basic chickens and rabbits just won't cut it anymore. To bag those 500 coins, I glide through the woods like a ghost. The predatory instincts, inherited from this body's previous host, blended with my newly enhanced physical form. Man, it's like I was tailor-made for this. Cut to a half-hour later. I spotted about 30 paces away, right by a hollowed-out fallen tree. A massive, grayish-brown form, twitching nervously. That's no ordinary bunny. That right there is an ironhide rabbit. These critters have hide so damn tough. Standard blades can't even scratch it. They're quick, clever, and aggressive, bolting underground at the slightest sound. Before today, I would have just noped out of there, since I literally lacked the strength to pierce their skin. But now I draw my bow with absolute deliberation, as if moving through thick molasses. Not a single sound. 30 paces out. That's stretching the absolute limit for any standard hunter. And given this brutal wind and snow, the odds of landing a hit are maybe 1 in 10. Except my reality is entirely different now. I can literally feel the wind currents, gauge the drag from the snowfall, and even sync up with the rhythm of the target's breath. Steady as a rock, my arms lock into place without a single tremor. I'm basically a statue sculpted from ice and steel. I can even anticipate the exact moment the creature will shift. Its head. Twang. The arrow pierces the air with a whistle, carrying a lethal velocity I've never managed until now. The rabbit's ears perk up. It senses the threat, scrambling to leap away. Too late. The shaft drives cleanly straight through its eye socket and tears out the back of its skull. One clean shot. Instant death. I don't just carelessly break cover, though. I scan the perimeter for any lurking eyes. Scavengers looking to steal my prize or turn me into their dinner. All clear. Time to bag the prize. Heavy, warm, and real. Holding 100 coins, I rip my arrow out, wiping the hot blood onto my freezing fingers. Gives me a bizarre rush. One isn't enough. I need more. I bury the blood in snow and relocate immediately. The scent of winter blood draws wolves. For the next couple of hours, I turn into the ghost of these woods. This place that used to scare the life out of me has become my own private hunting ground. But then, the system drops a brand new rule on me. Survival crisis has been partially averted. From this point on, basic archery requires actual hunting. Taking down live targets and diverse creatures yields different amounts of proficiency. Excuse me, system? You're throwing in conditions now? Are you nerfing me already? Surprisingly, the system actually replies. The host's understanding is flawed. Heaven rewards diligence, implies meaningful practice, not mindless repetition. True martial arts incorporate breath control, proper stances, blood and energy circulation, along with bone and tendon conditioning. The host must practice according to the correct method, burning through blood and energy while enduring pain. Only then will your proficiency levels rise. That is the real meaning of diligence. If merely punching the air 10,000 times could turn you into an invincible god of combat, it would defy the heavenly Tao itself. That isn't diligence. That's expecting something for nothing. Okay, fair enough. I can't really argue with that logic. The system did mention before that basic archery isn't a genuine martial art. It was just a freebie to keep me breathing. Now that I'm not on the brink of immediate death, I can't just shoot at random trees all day and expect to magically become a master archer. Checks out. Authentic martial arts demand genuine agony. Understood. By the time the bleak winter sun has fully risen, my basket is packed with 5 plump ironhide rabbits and a single flower-tail golden pheasant. It's a lavish bird boasting stunning plumage that the wealthy folks in town adore for decor. Leaning against a tree trunk, I gasp for breath. My body is running completely on empty, but my mind is totally wired. Time for some quick math. Ironhide rabbits fetch 100 coins apiece. That equals 500. The pheasant is a rare catch, easily 200 plus. The 2 field mice I snagged along the path bring the total to around 750 coins. After paying the 500 coin mountain tax, I'll have 250 left over. That's plenty for dozens of pounds of unpolished rice, some budget medicine, and fresh arrowheads. Maybe I can even score some fabric to mend this worthless coat. Still, I'm not selling the whole haul. I had the biggest rabbit of the bunch. 7 or 8 pounds of pure, glistening meat. My mouth is watering so intensely it actually hurts. I've gone by on just 2 buns over the past few days. My physique is right on the verge of quitting. Training demands serious fuel, and without any protein, I'm going to pass out. I'll keep the plump one for dinner and hawk the rest. It should still net over 600 coins. If I survive today, then, with this system, I'll rake in even more next month. Can't get greedy now. Time to move. Glancing up at the sun, I need to get back before noon, since the Black Tiger Gang gathers at the village gateway, right at midday. If you're late, it won't matter if you have the cash on hand. You're getting thrashed regardless. I conceal my basket beneath some dead twigs and foliage to make it look like I'm merely gathering firewood. So I slouch my shoulders, slip down the mountain using the secret paths, try to look completely miserable and broke. Even with this new strength, I'm staying cautious. Golden rule for making it out alive in a lawless world. Never show your full hand to anyone. The settlement by the ancient locust tree is already swarming with folks. By the time I return, and by swarming, I mean a crowd of panicked locals, herded up like sheep ready for the slaughter. The Black Tiger thugs are lounging there like royalty, decked out in furs with long swords at their hips. A coal-fired heater is blazing away right in front of them, while everyone else is literally freezing to death. Real charming guys. There's also a pile of bloody sacks by their boots, and I'm definitely not checking what's packed in there. The thug running this whole racket is a brute known as Lou Singleblade. Massive guy. Ugly scar slicing from eye to jaw that twitches like a centipede when he eats. Right now, he's ripping into a roast chicken with his bare hands, grease smearing everywhere. This monster has for sure taken lives before. Plenty of them, you could just feel it. Next, quit wasting my time. Looking to die? An elderly tracker limps to the front, fingers trembling so hard he can barely clutch his coin pouch. He empties it onto the stand. Greetings, Chief. Here is my payment for 180 pieces. Could you grant me 2 more days? I'm only short 20. I swear I'll. The poor old man drops to his knees, prostrating his forehead against the icy dirt. Short 20 pieces, huh? Lu Single Blade drops a chicken bone into the dirt, wipes his slippery mouth, and smirks cruelly. You know how I roll. Short me even 1 coin, and you pay with your flesh. A pair of thugs charge forward, before the old-timer can even let out a shriek. One of them stomps down on his arm, while the other slams a sheathed blade down. Like a hammer crack, the sound of fracturing bone is sharp and clear. The elderly hunter blacks out from the agony and gets hauled away like a dead dog. The crowd gets restless. Some folks are pissed. Some can't bear to look, but honestly, everyone is just terrified. Every single head drops. Nobody dares make eye contact with these savages. I'm lingering at the back, cap pulled down low, revealing absolutely nothing but my eyes. With a cold glare, my fists keep clenching and unclenching. Inside my sleeves. This is the reality when you're weak. No logic, no justice. Just brutal force and pure exploitation. My turn. I slouch my shoulders, put on my best pathetic kick puppy look, and trudge forward. On my way over, I already hit up a local joint's back door and traded my game for quick cash. That spot totally rips you off, but they cough up the dough fast and don't ask questions. Boss, here's my mountain tribute. Please check it. I proffer the pouch of 500 coins with both hands. Head bowed, meek as a church mouse. Lou. One blade glances over at me, but he doesn't grab the cash straight away. Those lifeless, fishy eyes scan me up and down, then fixate right on my basket. This old hound has got predator instincts. I can tell he's already picked up that something's fishy. Every other tracker returned completely empty-handed and half frozen. Yet here I am, looking totally flushed and full of energy. On top of that, I reek of fresh blood. No hiding that. From a dude who's spent his life taking lives. He grabs the pouch, feels the weight, and smirks. It's a nasty grin. 500, count checks out. I exhale a tiny bit. Much obliged, sir. As I turn to leave, hold on. His blade flashes sideways, cutting me off with a rush of wind. My heart pounds against my ribs, but I keep up the terrified, helpless look. Is there something else, sir? He stands up. His shadow completely covers me. Kid, I can tell you're pretty sharp. Everyone else comes back empty-handed in this storm. You got fresh blood on you. Looks like you struck gold out there, huh? My stomach drops. I managed to stutter, sir. You flatter me. It was pure luck. Just found a few frozen rodents. Barely anything. Too lucky. He edges closer, his eyes gleaming like a greedy wolf. Well, if you're that fortunate, you ought to show some appreciation. The rules changed. He shoves 2 fingers in my face. Orders from the boss. The snow's heavy, and the boys are working hard. Starting this month, the mountain fee goes up to 600 coins. What? 600? I only have about 100 coins left to buy food. If I cough that up, how am I supposed to eat this month? And this isn't even an official price hike. He's totally profiling me, just because I look like I'm holding cash. Pura extortion. What's with the look? Got a problem? Or would you rather debate it with my blade? His fingers drum against the handle of his sword. Speak up, boy. The other thugs close in with their arms crossed, smirking widely, eager for show, staring at their hideous mugs. I hear the old tracker whimpering nearby, and pure fury boils up inside me. Right now, with my rock-solid focus, if I just had some space, I could put an arrow right through Lou. One blade skull before he could even blink. I could absolutely take this guy out. But what follows? There are 5 or 6 of them armed with swords. If they close distance, I'm toast. And even if I somehow made it out alive, slaying a Black Tiger gang captain guarantees the whole syndicate hunts me down. I'd never be able to show my face around this town again. Can't lose my cool. Not yet. Play it dumb, keep my head down, survive. I force myself to take a breath. My back slouches, and that sudden urge to kill vanishes, as if it never existed. Boss, I didn't bring that much. My voice wavers, and I feign a tone like I'm on the verge of tears. 500 is honestly all I have on me. No cash. His hand drifts toward his blade, and square up with goods. I see your pouch is packed. What are you masking in there? He lunges for my pack, my rations, the game I was keeping to power my training. I recoil and quickly yank the plump ironhide rabbit out from the bottom myself, before he can rifle through it and discover anything else. Boss, please don't look. Don't look, I've got this rabbit I just bagged. I was planning to eat it myself. Here, it's yours. Let's call it even for the missing 100. A little tribute for you and the boys. I proffer the thickest, most prime catch using both hands. Lou one blade grabs it, weighs it in his palm, and his eyes widen. Oh, sweet. A plump ironhide rabbit. This is worth 100 coins at least. Easy there. He stares at me with a mix of shock and amusement, then reaches over and smacks me across the face. It's rough. My cheek stings and my teeth rattle. Smart kid, this rabbit is flawless. The boys needed a snack anyway. Consider your 100-coin tax settled. My heart is aching. That rabbit was meant to fuel my training. Beat it. He shoos me away like an annoying fly. But just as I turn around to leave, that unsettling voice calls out once more. Oh, and kid, next month, it's not 600 anymore. It's 800. Short me by a single coin, and I'll take one of your legs. Don't be a dumbass like old Lee. My feet freeze right where I stand. 800? These animals just keep squeezing me. They won't stop until they bury me. Why, yes. Yes, thank you for letting me know, boss. I nod rapidly like a bobblehead and bolt away through the mocking crowd. Nobody notices the murderous look in my eyes. Because I keep my head tucked so low, I look just like a stray mutt that got kicked back to his kennel. With my shack door bolted tight, I rub my swollen jaw and spit blood onto the floorboards. Bastards. I thought I could keep a low profile and level up in secret. But these leeches are so damn greedy. They won't even grant me a little breathing room. Even if I somehow manage to scrape up 800 next month, Lou One Blade will only raise the price again. As long as I tolerate this misery, there will always be more agony waiting down the line. If you won't let me live, then you're dying first. I retrieve a chipped whetstone from beneath my mattress, spit on it, and begin honing my arrowheads one by one, while plotting exactly how to end Lou. Taking out One Blade in the village is a no-go. Staging a suicide on the main road won't work either. Way too many eyewitnesses. But here's the deal with Lou One Blade. The guy's a total creep, and every single month, right after shaking down all the local neighborhoods for protection money, he heads straight to Widow Alley in town to blow off some steam. Now, Widow Alley doesn't actually have any widows. It is pretty much just a shady, underground red light district. And once a guy finishes wrapping up that kind of business, he is completely drained, totally relaxed, and letting his guard down completely. That is exactly when I will strike. The oil lamp wavers inside my cramped shack, throwing twisting shadows across the walls. Water is bubbling away in a damaged clay pot. And for the very first time since waking up in this world, the aroma of actual, cooked food fills the air. I am sitting cross-legged on my wooden cot, holding a fractured bowl piled high with coarse rice, and topped with field mouse meat. Yep, mouse meat. The exact stuff Lou One Blade apparently thought was beneath him. His loss is my feast. I wolf it down like a ravenous beast. The grains are so rough they scratch my throat as I swallow, and the rodent meat is pretty tangy, leaving a wonderful, earthy aftertaste. Even so, right now, this feels like the best meal I have ever eaten. Across 2 lifetimes. I'm going to need the stamina tonight. I'm taking a life. I brush off my mouth with my sleeve, and this comforting, satisfied warmth radiates throughout my entire body. Part of it comes from the food, and part from pure anticipation. Belly is full. Time to get to work. I retrieve my mulberry wood bow from the corner. I have freshly bound the handle with fabric strips to ensure a solid grip out in the snow. My arrow case holds 10 shafts, each one newly sharpened. Each and every one tags along with me tonight. Can't take any chances when you're pulling off your very first murder. I snuff out the lantern, and total darkness consumes it all. I shove the door open, and the gale smacks me like an icy fist, with frozen bits biting into my face. The snowfall is getting even thicker now. A flawless dark moon and a screaming wind. Perfect murder weather. I strap that corroded hunting knife onto my outer thigh, tug my belt tight, and dive straight into the blizzard, making tracks for town. Widow Alley is nestled away on the western edge of Greenock. Calling it an alley is being generous. It's pretty much just a cramped, nasty pathway bordered by rows of decaying mud brick hovels. By day, no woman will venture near the place. By night, the men just can't keep away. It is way past midnight, and the bulk of the town is pitch black and asleep. Yet this small strip still boasts a couple of red lanterns, shining in that provocative kind of way. Wasted laughter and rowdy drinking games spill out, past bolted doors. I melt right into the gloom at the mouth of the lane, just like a cat crafted from pure midnight. An enormous old locust tree stands right here, as thick around as 2 men hugging the trunk, completely bare in the wintertime, but those limbs are hefty enough to act as cover. From up in these branches, I can spot the sole exit from Widow Alley. Whichever girl's shanty Lou One Blade decides to crawl out of, he'll have to walk right underneath me. To make it back to the syndicate's headquarters, I settle into position and just wait and wait. The gale keeps forcing frost down my collar, and my jacket hardens into a suit of icy armor. My limbs are turning numb, as every single breath saps more warmth right out of me. An hour passes then, too. The racket in the alley fades away. A few wasted guys stumble out, with sketchy-looking women clinging to them, weaving blindly into the night. I stay frozen, not even blinking a bit. I've been here before, spending 3 long days and nights, stalking prey up in the mountains. This is just another routine hunt. Frost is starting to coat my eyelashes. My legs are completely going numb. I'm honestly wondering if I'll need an amputation. Once this is all over, then come footsteps, clumsy, heavy thuds, and that unmistakably raspy, grating voice. Ha! That sweet little peach blossom. She really hick. She seriously knows how to hick. My pupils instantly narrow to pinpricks. He's arrived. I carefully stretch my frozen fingers back to life, reach inside my quiver, and knock an arrow against the bowstring. 3 figures sway out from the alleyway. The massive one in the center struts around with his sword clanking at his hip. That's Lu Oneblade. A lackey walks on each side holding up lanterns, propping him up and kissing his ass nonstop. Master Lu is just incredible. That little peach blossom usually plays hard to get, but she totally melts for Master Lu, naturally. Who in this entire town would ever dare cross Master Lu? Lu Oneblade is loving every second of it. His face is flushed red, reeking of heavy booze. Damn straight. In my prime. Hick. I slice down 7, 8 bastards with a single strike. They're closing in. 50 paces, 40, 30. Oh, my breath. At this distance, standard archery combined with rock-solid focus turn lethal. I pretty much can't miss, but there are 3 of them. Lu Oneblade dies first. He's the only real threat. Those 2 lackeys are completely useless without him. I lock my sight dead onto his flushed, oily, hammered face. A sudden gust of wind tears down the alleyway. The flames inside the lanterns flicker violently. Shadows and light dance all around. Now my gaze turns ice cold as both arms draw back. The mulberry bough bends into a flawless crescent. Twang! The bowstring thrums, barely audible against the blustering wind. The arrow strikes like a viper, cutting straight through the snow, aimed directly at the center of Lu Oneblade's throat. In my mind, he's already a dead man. Just 1 second from now, this shaft will pierce his windpipe. He won't even manage a scream before dropping like a sack of. But reality doesn't care about plans. The very split second before impact, something shifts. Lu Oneblade, this stumbling, sloppy, wasted degenerate, suddenly freezes solid. Every single muscle in his body tenses up, like a loaded spring. Surviving for years on the edge of a blade has left this guy with pure animal instincts. The hairs on the nape of his neck stand on end, sensing lethal intent in a fraction of a heartbeat. Faster than thought, he snaps his head aside and hurls the jug of wine in his left hand, right up to shield his face. Whack! Crash! The arrow smashes the jug and keeps flying, grazing his cheek and tearing open a line of blood, before embedding itself deep into the wooden door behind him. Lu Oneblade stumbles backward, clutching his face as blood seeps through his fingers. The arrow's barbed tip just shredded half his cheek, practically tearing his ear right off. But he's breathing, he's alive. Who? Which son of a bitch dares to blindsides me? He snaps out of his drunken stupor instantly, fury and utter shock wrestling across his face. His right hand swiftly draws that heavy-backed cleaver, and it reflects the lantern light with a chilling flash. Crouched behind my tree, my heart plummets into my stomach like lead. He's not dead. How on earth is this guy still standing? The dude was wasted, staggering around like he had no spine. Yet he still managed to evade a lethal shot from 30 paces. A cold sweat instantly drenches my entire back. So, this is the massive gulf between a true warrior and an ordinary person. I completely underestimated Lu Oneblade. I seriously misjudged just how powerful people can get in this realm. But there's absolutely no time to regret it now. If I allow him to recover and close the gap, I'm the one who's going to end up dead tonight. Suppressing the panic, I force myself to think straight. If 1 arrow couldn't finish him off, then I'll use 2 or 3. The ambush botched, so we do this the old-fashioned way. His 2 lackeys are just standing there, completely frozen like morons, so I knock another arrow. Twang! A second shaft zips directly at Lu Oneblade. Yet this absolute psycho, in pitch blackness, with blood pouring from his mangled face, actually detects the incoming missile. He slashes his cleaver upward, clang. Sparks fly. He literally deflected my arrow mid-flight. He literally sliced a speeding arrow out of the air. In the dark, my jaw is somewhere on the floor right now. Is this dude even human? The disparity in combat skill is insane. I'm way out of my depth here. He's behind that old tree. Get him. I want him taken alive. I'm going to skin him. The 2 goons snap out of it, drop their lanterns, unsheath their weapons, and rush me, roaring. 30 paces for full-grown men sprinting. That's just a couple of breaths, tops. Grim Reaper's coming right for me. No time to run. If I turn around, I'm minced meat. Suddenly, something clicks inside. Survival mode, fully engaged. I completely tune out the two rushing thugs. Instead, I fixate strictly on Lu Oneblade. Take out the boss, and the rest will crumble. Be a rock. Just hold steady. I'm losing my mind, screaming internally. My arms are trembling from the sheer stress. But I clench my teeth so hard. The taste of copper forces the ability to trigger. Time slows down. The oncoming bastards. The drifting snow, Lu Oneblade's mangled, gory face. Everything comes into sharp focus. My hand flies into the quiver, snatching a pair of arrows simultaneously. Never attempted this stunt before. A rapid double shot. Twang. The first shaft targets the lead thug's thigh. Gah! Down he goes like a sack of bricks, writhing in the snow while gripping his leg. Lu Oneblade hesitates. His stride falters for a mere split second. There's my chance, without missing a beat, smoothly following through from that initial release. I draw the second arrow. This time, I avoid his neck and head. He's shielding his upper torso with that chopper, so I dip the arrowhead down just a fraction. His gut is wide open. Twang! This shot holds absolutely everything. All my rage, all my bitterness from 3 grueling days and nights in the freezing cold. Years of grueling, blood-soaked practice packed into a single release. The arrow grazes the dirt, like a dark flash of lightning, kicking up a flurry of fresh powder. Lu Oneblade spots it, attempting a downward parry to deflect the hit. But the trajectory is just too awkward. Way too low, way too rapid. Miles faster than any shot I've loosed tonight. And damn, it's too late. The shaft tears right into his unprotected midsection, as though he were made of paper. Piercing deep, leaving only the fletching exposed. His entire frame freezes up. The heavy blade clatters to the ground. He stares down at the basic wooden shaft buried in his torso, wearing a look of absolute disbelief. Him, a seasoned skin-tempering martial artist, a squad captain of the Black Tiger Gang, bested by some teenage woodsmen, a kid wielding literal trash gear. Then the agony kicks in. Ashash. He collapses to his knees. Blood immediately dyes the surrounding snow crimson. Boss Lu. Boss L. The remaining lackey loses it, scrambling over, but Lu Oneblade shoves him back. Screw me, just finish. Finish him. He's hacking up bloody froth, glaring at me with pure venom in his fading eyes. I'm sucking wind, limbs so thrashed I can barely raise them. That rapid-fire burst completely drained whatever stamina I had left. But I can't let up. Lu Oneblade is down, but not definitively finished. And that last thug just grabbed a lantern, aiming the beam right in this direction. That amber glow pierces the blinding blizzard and shines straight onto my face. For one breathless second, the thug and I lock eyes. He catches sight of a pale, young face ready to kill. And suddenly, it clicks for him. It's you. His eyes pop, and he points a finger right at me. You're that guy from earlier today. The little hunter kid who paid up the tax. My stomach completely drops. Crap, no. The strategy was to wipe everyone out in the dark, leave 0 witnesses, and vanish like a phantom. But Lu Oneblade proved way too tough. Took up too much time. And now this dude has gotten a crystal clear look at me. It's him, the kid called Wang Qing. The hunter. He's yelling like he just hit the jackpot, bellowing out for the whole world to hear. Help! Somebody ambush Boss Lu. It's that hunter, Wang Qing. His shouts reverberate down the quiet night lanes. Lights begin snapping on in neighboring houses. Over at the Black Tiger Gang station down the street, I can hear heavy boots running and hounds barking. Damn it. I reach for another arrow, trying to shut this loudmouth up. But my hands are trembling violently from muscle spasms after unloading that rapid-fire volley. So the arrow just slips right off the bowstring. Too late anyway. I can already spot torchlight flashing in the distance. A dozen guys at least are rushing this way. If I linger for even one more minute, I'm history. I make the toughest choice. Forget the finishing blow. I glance sharply at Lu Oneblade, twitching there in a puddle of blood. That shaft definitely pierced something vital. Even if some miracle doctor popped up right now, that stomach wound should be a done deal. Keyword should. I pivot and bolt, steering clear of town. Black Tiger's spies are everywhere. That's a total suicide mission. Not heading to my cabin either. My cover's blown, and they'll lock that place down first. My sole escape route is right behind me. Green Ox Ridge. 1,000 miles of freezing, beast-infested mountain wasteland. Grab him. Don't let him slip away in there. He's making a run for the mountains. Let the hounds loose. Tear him to shreds. Yelling and barking erupt from behind. I don't dare look back. Hunkering down, I charge through knee-deep drifts. Like my life is on the line. Mostly because it completely is. The icy wind cuts my skin like razor blades, and my lungs feel like burning coals. But honestly, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. I'm flying faster than I ever imagined I could. I intentionally pick the thorniest, nastiest trails around. My jacket gets ripped to pieces by briars, and my flesh gets sliced open, but I feel absolutely nothing. Getting caught means getting chopped to bits. Pain is a problem for future me to deal with. 1 mile down, then 2, then 5. The pursuing torchlight dissolves into the heavy snow. The hound's baying grows faint as the gale shifts. I push through, crushing over 10 miles in a single burst, plunging deep into the thick, outer woodlands of Green Ox Ridge, before I finally cut my pace. This territory is creepy enough in broad daylight, during a midnight whiteout. It's straight up a survival horror movie. Still, compared to those monsters back in town, these mountains packed with predators actually seem pretty safe. I drop behind a massive rock, my body totally wrecked, wheezing like a fish out of water. I open up my status menu. Basic archery unlocked. 10/1/000. Man, what a total mess. I don't even know if Lou One Blade is dead or still breathing. And on top of that, I've been driven out of town like some stray dog, with my real identity completely blown. Took a massive L tonight, honestly. Just a major, major loss, yeah. I let out the most pathetic laugh across both my lifetimes. You want to know what my issue is? I got way too cocky. I trained with a bow for a single night, hunted some rabbits, hoarded a couple of copper coins, and suddenly thought I was actually somebody. Thought I could just go poke the Black Tiger Gang in the eye. This world straight up eats people, and I completely forgot that for 5 whole minutes. That Lou One Blade was absolutely blackout drunk, yet he still batted my arrow right out of midair, like he was just swatting a fly. Now that's what actual combat experience looks like. That's what years of slaughtering people gets you. If I hadn't managed to pull off that lucky rapid-fire burst at the very end, my head would be hanging from that old locust tree right about now. No wonder. Every transmigrator in those web novels plays it completely safe. Failing to play it safe gets you legitimately killed. I grab a handful of snow to moisten my dry, sticky mouth. My current situation is just absolutely beautiful. Every bit of food and coin I scrapped together is sitting inside my shack back at the village, which the Black Tiger Gang has probably reduced to ashes by this point. Right back to square one. Actually, worse than square one. Before I was just broke, but now I'm a wanted murderer. Let's see what I actually have left. Mulberry Bough is still here. Wherever I go, it goes. As for arrows, I started tonight with 10. Shot 3 at Lou, broke 1 blade. Hit a thug's leg with another, dropped 1 when my hand cramped up. Just 5 left. These 5 wooden sticks are literally everything I own now. Got my hunting knife strapped to my leg, though. Thank God I didn't lose it while running. It's completely rusted out, but beats a sharp rock. Then there's this glorious, inherited cotton coat, which those damn briars shredded into a bunch of ribbons while I was escaping. Not exactly family heirloom quality anymore. This game is seriously trying to kill me. Right in the tutorial phase. 2 choices. Choice A, stay put, and wait for the Black Tiger Gang to track me down. Spend my 5 arrows to drag a few down with me, and then get sliced into mincemeat. They'd probably take my head back as a trophy. Choice B, venture deeper into the heart of the Green Ox Ridge Mountains. The exact place every veteran hunter claims is a death sentence. Crawling with monsters, demons, and spirits, stuff that shouldn't even exist. But honestly, people are way scarier than any wild beast. Those thugs make a living by robbing villagers and partying all night long. No way they're going to risk their cozy lives chasing a single broke kid into the deadliest part of the peaks. They just aren't that dedicated. Better to be alive and scraping by than a dead hero. No second thoughts, minds made up, into the mountains. As long as I'm still breathing, I've got a shot. The heavens reward hard work, right? Just give me time. Even if I have to survive like a wild animal. Out in these woods, I'm going to come back stronger. Leaning on my bow like a crutch, I haul myself up out of the snowdrift. My legs honestly feel like they're full of wet cement. Each step forward requires a grueling, teeth-gritting effort. I cast one final glance back toward Green Ox Town. That's when I pivot and head straight into the Black Forest. Never glancing back, I trek for a whole day and night. No path at all. I'm just tramping through knee-deep snow. Without a compass, I just press on against the wind. Initially, I'm coasting on residual adrenaline and fuel from that rice porridge, but once that wears off, the real misery kicks in. My stomach is practically digesting itself. The acid is churning so violently I genuinely want to strip bark off trees and gnaw on it. And then there's the biting cold. My hands and feet stopped feeling like mine hours ago. They're completely numb. Just frozen appendages going through the motions. My eyebrows and hair have turned to solid ice. My breath freezes the second it escapes. My face. I can't quit. Stopping means death. That solitary thought is the only thing remaining in my hazy mind. The trees are getting massive. Some are so wide. For guys couldn't even link hand around them. The snow keeps getting deeper. Every step plunges so far down, I can barely yank my foot free. This is the heart of Green Ox Ridge. I'm physically hit a wall and can't push any further. And with any luck, those thugs aren't crazy enough to hunt me this far in. If they actually do, well, I guess I'll just throw in the towel at that point. I slump against an ancient pine, gasping desperately for breath. Suddenly, a faint noise, scritch, paws scratching at the snow. A living creature. Every dying cell in my body snaps awake. I catch my breath and crouch lower, blending right into the drifts. About 30 paces away on a sheltered incline, a pale blur is shifting. A snow rabbit. It's tinier than an ironhide rabbit, completely snow-white aside from its ruby eyes, with ears twitching around like radar dishes, poised to dash down its burrow. At the slightest sign of danger, I gulp hard. This is do or die. Bag this rabbit, eat it, drink its blood, and I'll make it. Miss, and I'm history. That final bit of stamina fades, and I freeze out here forever. My hands won't stop shaking. The bow that usually feels like nothing now feels heavy as lead. Starvation, anxiety, adrenaline, everything is stacked against me. If I screw up this shot, it's curtains. For real. Take a deep breath. Freezing air fills my chest and clears my head just a bit. I lift the bow. My left arm is total jelly, but I bite down hard until it hurts and force myself to stay rock steady. A faint, warm sensation surges through my trembling arms, miraculously stabilizing them. Twang! The arrow slices through the blizzard. Like a grim reaper summons. The rabbit stiffens. It felt the threat, but the shaft pins its neck to the dirt. Before it can leap, blood splatters across the white snow. Vivid crimson on pure white. Gotching. I rush over on all fours. Half scrambling, half tumbling. I clutch the twitching hair with both hands. Warm. Alive, warm. That's the literal heat of life. I stare at the blood spurting from the wound. That salty, metallic stench that would normally make me retch. Right now, it smells sweeter than a five-star feast. I rip the arrow out, press my lips to the pooling gash, and drink. Gulp, gulp. Warm and salty. Metallic-tasting blood pours down my throat and fills my stomach. It's kind of gross, sure, but being picky is a luxury. For folks who aren't facing death. Survive first, keep your pride later. As that warm liquid hits my gut, the deep, icy chill that's been killing me. Gradually, let's go. A tiny bit of energy seeps back into my numb limbs. I chug until there's not a drop left, then wipe the stains off my face. I slice off a slab of raw meat with my dull knife and cram it into my mouth. Raw bunny meat feels just like a rubber band and tastes like something that definitely should have been cooked first. I chew it down like it's a gourmet steak and swallow it whole, gristle and all. Every single mouthful buys me more time. Half a rabbit later, I call it quits. My belly finally has some food in it. That'll do. The rest gets cleaned with snow and packed away in my coat. Who knows when I'll catch another one. This meat has to last, nourished at least. I plow through the dim, snowy twilight, searching for a place to crash. With luck still leaning my way, I spot a narrow fissure in a ridge. I hurl a stone inside to check for wild animals. Total silence. I grab bundles of fallen twigs and foliage, squeeze myself sideways into the crevice, and stack the brush across the opening to block the breeze, and mask my hideout. I scatter leaves on the dirt for a bed and drop. I'm completely out before my head even hits the ground. The morning sun filters through the openings of my stone den and beams right onto my face, which looks bruised blue. Beats me, I can't feel a thing. I'm alive, exhaling a thick cloud of white mist as I begin rubbing my cheeks until that stinging sensation returns. Yep, still kicking. Didn't freeze to death overnight. Today is starting off great. Well, by my current rock-bottom standards. My stomach instantly reminds me that it's empty. The half-eaten rabbit in my coat has literally turned into a solid rock overnight. Need a fire. Eating frozen, uncooked meat is a one-way ticket to a painful death. I squeeze out of my crevice in the hillside. The blizzard has passed, leaving everything blindingly white, and my eyes absolutely burn just looking at it. I collect dead brush, foraging around pine roots for dry moss, and fallen needles that haven't been soaked by the snow yet. Finding a sturdy stick, I carve a small groove into a piece of decayed wood. With my blade, pack it with moss, and begin drilling. Friction fires take pure muscle and patience. Pant. Hiss hiss. Pant hiss. Hiss. The wood spins rapidly between my palms. My skin blisters and tears within minutes. But I can't stop. If I lose the built-up heat, I have to restart. First attempt, nothing. Second attempt, nothing. Third try, and my arms feel ready to fall off. When a faint, slender thread of smoke finally drifts from the wood, smelling like burnt toast. I cradle the ember as if it were pure gold, breathing gently on it until, poof, a tiny orange flame sparks to life. Warmth, actual warmth, striking my face. For the first time in what feels like an eternity. My entire chest finally loosens up. I stoke the fire quickly, skewer that frozen hunk of rabbit on a stick, and hold it over the blazing flames. Sizzle, sizzle. Fat rendering down, dripping onto the hot coals, creating the absolute most beautiful sound in the universe. The rich aroma of roasting meat fills the whole air. No salt, completely unseasoned. One half is charred black, the other is still bloody. But when that very first bite of hot, fresh rabbit meat slides down my throat, man, I honestly almost break down. Seriously, I genuinely almost cry. With a full stomach and a warm body. My brain's finally online. Time to plan ahead. Looking back at that rocky crevice where I sleep, it's pathetic. I can barely even squeeze inside. Huddled up like a shrimp, I can't even extend my legs. And the wind just whips through from every single side. One heavy snowstorm, and I'm just a frozen popsicle in a stone coffin. If I'm going to pull through long-term out in these peaks. Ina prupikam. Time for an upgrade. There's a massive rock overhang right above my spot. A natural roof, totally free of charge. Grabbing my rusty blade, I head out into the timber. Chopping down wood with a dull blade is every bit as brutal as it sounds. I target dead pines about wrist thick and start hacking away. The impact rattles so hard my palms crack open all over again. Blood blending with tree sap, the usual routine. 2 hours later, I manage to haul back a dozen logs. I prop them up at an angle against the stone wall, wedging the bases deep into the frozen dirt. Next, I tightly weave pliable brushwood horizontally across the framework to build a basic skeleton. Still way too drafty, though. So, I drag more pine boughs from the woods and pile them on real thick, basically creating a massive pine needle raincoat for my camp. Last up, the walls. I stuff snow, blended with mud, into every single gap between the limbs, locking the whole setup down. I leave just one little opening on the block side, barely wide enough to squeeze into. By the time I'm done, night is falling. Crawling inside, it's definitely number 5-star hotel, but there's enough space to crash and stretch out. I line the ground with a dense bedding of crisp pine needles and fallen leaves. It's plush, bouncy, and smells totally like resin. I shift the campfire right to the entryway. The low-slung roof locks in the warmth and keeps it flowing. Outside, the wind is absolutely howling. But in here, it's toasted and cozy. All right, now this is a spot a human can actually live in. I brush the muck off my hands, and that frantic, runaway vibe finally starts to wear off. Lodging, check. Food, check. Up next, gear and clothes. Chilling by the fire. I start prepping yesterday's rabbit pelt. There are still bits of fat and meat clinging to it. If I don't strip it clean, it'll spoil, stiffen up, and be completely useless. Since I lack proper tanning tools, I use the spine of my blade to carefully shave the skin clean. Press too hard, and I'll slice right through. Too soft, and the grease stays put. Total drag. Just tedious, mind-numbing labor. I was secretly hoping this might trigger the blue prompt and score me some XP. Like unlocking a crafting profession. But after a solid half hour of scraping away, the interface remains totally blank. So, heaven rewards diligence. Only applies to martial arts, not daily chores. I can't help but laugh at myself. But honestly, it's pretty reassuring. It means this talent is specifically designed to turn me into a fighter, not some jack-of-all-trades handyman. Good to know. Still gotta grind through the work, though, system credit or not. 2 hours later, I managed to get a decent, clean rabbit pelt. I stretch it out near the campfire to smoke and dry it for preservation. Now I need a needle and thread. Glancing at the pile of rabbit bones left from my meal, I pick out the sturdiest leg bone and grind it to a sharp point on a rock. Then, I use my knife tip to very carefully carve an eyelet. At the thick end, bone needle, check. As for thread, I yank the large tendon from the rabbit's hind leg. Once it's dried out and shredded into thin strips, this stuff becomes as tough as wire. I slip off my beloved ancestral coat. This outfit is now officially more holes than actual fabric, especially around the shoulders and elbows. where all the cotton padding leaked out ages ago. I'm basically wearing the mere suggestion of clothes. I sliced the semi-dried rabbit skin into 2 patches and stitched them over the worst spots. The shoulders and back, where the biting wind hits hardest. Pushing that bone, needle through heavy cloth and raw pelt, is brutal. I find a smooth river pebble to press against. The blunt end of the needle going stitch by stitch. My sewing skills are absolutely atrocious. The stitches weave all over like a bunch of drunk centipedes, crawling across my jacket. But when I slide this hideous, patched up, rabbit fur reinforced masterpiece back on, warmth, real warmth wraps around my back and shoulders. Oh man, that's the stuff. I roll my shoulders, take a deep breath, and feel like this old coat just got its soul back. For the next couple of days, I'm straight up living like a Neanderthal. And honestly, it's actually working out. Throughout the day, I set up traps all around my camp. I don't have a manual, no step-by-step tutorials. Just some blurry memories of survival videos from my past life, along with bits and pieces of hunting skills that this body's biological dad left behind. I dig pitfall traps along game trails, rig up tripwires inside the bushes, and set deadfall log traps beneath the pines. Zero system notifications pop up for any of this, though. Guest trapping doesn't exactly qualify as martial arts. Even so, I can feel myself leveling up. I'm finally starting to read this forest like an open book. Rabbit pellets right here mean there's a burrow close by. Chewed up pine cones over there. Squirrel territory. That opening in the rocks. A total weasel highway. My vision gets sharper with every passing day. I also decide to give my place a serious upgrade. The doorway is way too massive and breezy. So I whittle down some thick branches, drive them into the dirt, and weave them into a makeshift wall. After that, I pack the whole frame with wet mud and snow. I leave just one gap, barely wide enough to squeeze through sideways, which I plug up with a clump of dry grass. Now, when I'm hunkered down inside at night, the indoor temperature is actually pretty manageable. No more waking up at 3 a.m. convinced that I've kicked the bucket. Plus, nothing can sneak in to rip my throat out while I'm getting some shut-eye. Talk about progress. On day 5, I'm making my usual rounds to check the traps, and it looks like the mountain gods finally bless me today. 2 miles out from camp, deep in a birch grove, my deadfall log trap was triggered. A 100-pound dead tree trunk is pinned flat against the dirt, and trapped underneath is a chunky badger. These little guys are vicious fighters. Razor-sharp claws, powerful jaws, and a terrible attitude. Ordinarily, I'd give one a wide berth. Except this one's spine is snapped, courtesy of my log. So all it can do is just lay there, gasping and staring me down with furious little eyes. Jackpot. Badger meat is loaded with fat and oil. Crazy nourishing in that thick pelt? Craft a hat out of that, and winter is going to feel totally different. But I'm not strolling up to it like an idiot. Lesson learned this week. Never underestimate a dying animal. Keeping my distance, I raise my bow and drive an arrow straight through its eye socket. From a safe range, quick and clean. Successful badger hunt. Minor combat experience gained. Basic archery unlocked. 15/1-000. I heave the 20-odd-pound carcass over my shoulder and trudge back through the snow to camp. That weight on my shoulder feels amazing. Not because badgers are a joy to pack around, but because it represents food. It means making it through another week. Later that evening, badger meat is sizzling over my fire. The aroma is 10 times richer than rabbit. Deep, fatty, and mouth-watering. I dig into the greasy meat and feel a burst of warmth rush through my entire body. Every single pore opens up. It's like my shriveled-up organs are getting a spa day. After eating, I check my status panel. Wong Ching. Human lifespan. 16 out of 52. Physical condition. Slightly improved, sub-healthy. Skill. Basic archery unlocked. 15/1-000. That health status went from utterly depleted to sub-healthy. Not exactly a stellar medical report, but compared to where I stood a week ago, it's a miracle. I hold up the badger skin and size it up against my head. Tomorrow, I'm making a hat. Snag a couple more hides after that, and I'm totally replacing this jacket's lining. I kick back against my comfy stack of dry grass, catching the sound of the wind howling through the canopy. Out there, twirling that slick bone needle right between my fingers. The panic has finally worn off. This peak is brutal, but it plays fair. Grind hard, use your head, and it'll keep you fed. Honestly, way more upfront than people ever are. Come morning, the sky is completely clear, and the sunshine transforms the snow into a blinding white mirror. I give my face a quick scrub with a handful of clean powder. That passes for shower out here. I grab my bow and make my move outside, following a few days of solid rest and actual meat. That deep, exhausting fatigue is finally melting away. My arms feel genuinely strong again. Let's find out if I still got the touch. I knock a bone-tipped arrow. I've been crafting my own from animal remains lately, and lock eyes on a dead birch tree. About 20 paces out, there's a hand-sized spot where the bark's stripped away, revealing the pale timber underneath. The ideal mark. Inhale. Drop the shoulders, draw back, and loose. The bone projectile streaks across, and sinks itself directly into the border of that bare spot, piercing 3 inches deep into the wood. Mine's still sharp. Sweet. I retrieve my arrow and venture out for the day's stalk. Yesterday, snowfall blanketed most of the game trails. But if you know what to track down, the hints are still there. I'm scanning the woods like a walking radar, when there it is, a faint clucking from a thicket just ahead. I stop dead in my tracks, going full statue, peering through the bare twigs. I catch sight of 2 brownish-gray pheasants, foraging for grass seeds in the snow. They're skittish, peck twice. Scan the area, peck twice. Scan the area again. 40 paces. That's a real stretch for me right now. I'm not risking it. Instead, I hunker down and skulk forward, using the tree trunks as a shield, inching closer, one tiny step at a time. My boot crunches against the snow, faint to my ears, but deafening in these quiet woods. Both birds instantly whip their heads up, on high alert. No more time. If I hesitate any longer, they'll bolt. 35 paces, it'll just have to do. I pop out from behind a tree, draw, take aim, and let fly in one smooth motion. The arrow whizzes through the air. Both pheasants burst upward, in a flurry of feathers and snow. My shaft just grazes a tail feather on one, then thuds into the empty dirt behind. A total miss. And that right there is the difference between targeting a tree and targeting something that actually wants to live. I just shake my head and go retrieve my arrow. No hit means no XP, and no dinner. That's how it goes. Still, I don't let it get to me. I keep scouting through the woods. All morning, I whiffed 3 more times. On a pheasant, on a squirrel, that zipped off like it had a rocket strapped to its back, and a gray rabbit that popped up out of nowhere, and vanished just as quickly. Then, by late afternoon on a sunny ridge, I spot the absolute dumbest creature God ever made. A roe deer, just chilling there, soaking up the sun. It notices me, but instead of taking off, it tilts its head to the side like, oh, well, check out this curious thing. I choked up totally trying to stifle a laugh. This creature easily scales 40 or 50 pounds. Yet it's staring at me like I'm some local exhibit. Keep it together. Don't mess this up. Steady as a rock triggers arm lock. 0 wobble, twang. The shaft pierces directly through its throat. The deer lets out a pathetic whimper, scrambling to escape. It manages maybe 5 paces before face-planting in the snow. With limbs twitching, I dash over to end it using my blade. Successfully bagged a wild roe deer. Gained 3 XP. Basic archery level bumped to 18. First, I glance at the points, then at this plump, gorgeous creature collapsed out in the cold. I just plopped down right there on the frozen ground, wiped out, smirking like a total dork. Man, this is how training is supposed to feel. I haul the carcass back to camp at twilight, and feast on the grandest supper of my wilderness days. Freshly sliced venison searing over an open blaze. Grease dripping and crackling. I stuff myself until my gut is tight as a drum. The remaining meat gets packed into the drifts by my camp. Mother Nature's icebox. Plenty of grub for days. Post-dinner. It's DIY time. Tonight's task, a beanie. I fetched the badger pelt gathered a few days back. It's been curing and baking near the hearth. And now it's tough, pungent, and absolutely perfect. The coat is dense and cozy. Precisely what my freezing ears have been dying for. I turn it furry side inward. Slice out 2 semicircles, sizing it up by my own skull. Then commence stitching with my makeshift bone tool. Jabbing a bone needle through thick badger skin is like trying to pierce through heavy leather. Using a mere toothpick, I'm ramming it down with a stone, throwing my entire body mass into every single loop. SSS. The tip slides off. Prick my finger, and a drop of blood wells up. I give a quick suck, shrug it off, and just keep it out here. This doesn't even qualify as a real injury. An hour goes by, and the most hideous cap in headwear history is created. I try it on. The flaps hug my frostbitten ears, with incredibly soft fur warming my cheeks. It's so crazy warm, despite being total eyesore. I trace the uneven, bumpy stitching across the crown and chuckle at myself. Man, but it is cozy. I grab the raw deer pelt and begin scraping away. This one is larger and plusher, ideal for a bed mat or an inner jacket lining. My chores are piling up. Gather pine sap, unbend my arrow shafts, and scout the eastern gorge tomorrow for wild boar sign. Later that night, the wind roars outside, as if it wants to swallow the peak hole. Yet inside my camp, the hearth pops gently, and I lounge there in my ugly cap with a full stomach. I look nothing like that panicked desk jockey who croaked at his office. Nor do I resemble the helpless kid who took a hit from a mobster. 5 days deep into the wilderness, the temperature plummets until spit turns to ice. Right before hitting the dirt, limbs break off trees like brittle glass. I'm hunkered down behind a snowy dirt bank, hidden beneath a blanket of withered grass for cover, staying absolutely still. My exhalations are freezing in a rime on my brows. I've waited here for hours. 3 days back, I spotted prints over in the eastern wild yam patch. Hoof marks shaped like plum blossoms, imprinted half a fist deep. Tree bark was stripped away in massive, rough chunks. Dark bristles and a foul stench left in its wake. A wild boar, and a massive season one at that. The old-timers always used to say, first the pig, then the bear, and third the tiger. An enraged wild boar is deadlier than a tiger. Their hide is as thick as a suit of armor, and they wallow around in pine resin and mud, until they are pretty much rocking a built-in bulletproof vest. Standard weapons will just bounce right off. The Omi would have bolted the second I saw those tracks. But right now, I seriously need the meat. I need the pelt, and above all else, I desperately need the XP that you can only rack up from a life or death brawl. There it is. I can feel the ground shaking right in my chest. Before it even shows up, suddenly, the thicket ahead bursts open, and out lunges this massive, dark brown beast. It looks exactly like a small hill's sprouted legs. That's easily 300 pounds of pure malice, with a pair of yellowed tusks jutting from its jaws. Like twin scimitars, it's rooting through the snow, chasing down the scent of the bait. I laid out chunks of deer entrails, nice and bloody. My hands are sweating. I wipe them on my jacket and grip my bow tighter. I hold my fire. Not just yet. I'm waiting for it to step right into my trap. A deep trench I spent a whole day sweating to dig, brimming with fire-sharpened wooden spikes at the bottom. The beast halts and jerks its head up. Those tiny, beady eyes scan the surroundings warily. Its snout flares, sniffing out potential danger. I hold my breath and actively force my pulse to slow down. In the end, greed wins out. That bloody aroma is just too enticing. The boar grunts and shuffles forward. 1 stride, 2 strides. Snap! The branches masking the pit give way completely. Under those 300 pounds. Roar! That boar shrieks like a total demon out of hell. As it plummets, the entire ground vibrates. Gotcha! I leap straight up from my cover. But I'm not popping champagne just yet. A beast of this brute strength isn't going down from a few wooden spikes. Not that easily. I dart within 5 paces of the pit, and immediately open fire down into the darkness. It's pure bedlam, debris and snow swirling everywhere, with the boar thrashing like a rogue bulldozer. A bunch of stakes have impaled its underbelly, gushing blood all over, but none of them struck any vital organs. This psychotic monster keeps ramming the trench walls, shattering dirt loose with every single smash. It's practically carving out its own exit ramp. Thwack! The first arrow connects with its spine. Looks like the shaft sinks barely half an inch before stopping. That caked-on layer of pine resin and dried mud, covering its skin, functions as literal armor plating. Hardly any bleeding. Just how thick is this beast? My stomach sinks. We have a serious gear issue here. Bone arrowheads simply lack the needed stopping power. And right now, that boar is absolutely livid. It capitalizes on the recoil of its latest wall slam to catapult itself straight upward. Its back legs are pumping hard like pistons, and suddenly, half of its frame clears the ledge. Those beady, bloodshot eyes zero in on me. Unadulterated malice. Pure omicida intent. Grow arc. Disregarding the spike, still piercing its guts, it hauls itself out entirely and barrels right at me, like a massive black wrecking ball, leaking gore and stench. If that tank hits me, I'll shatter like fine china. It's make or break in the very next second. My mind completely empties. No panic. No overthinking. Just raw, primal predator mode. No way to outrun a quadrate through knee-deep drifts. That's a suicide bet. The only play is to fight. Rather than retreating, I sidestep onto a higher ridge right by a tree. Stone steady. Activate. Time completely slows down. The beast's gross drooling, wide open jaw takes over my field of vision. I can literally spot every single bristle on its snout. It's like staring death right in the face in 4K. This monster has only got 2 vulnerable spots. The eyes? Way too tiny. And it's charging too damn fast. Or that soft patch behind the ear, where its mud armor leaves a gap. Behind the ear it is. I inhale every single molecule of oxygen left, drawing the bowstring back into a flawless, full curve. And at the exact split second, 300 pounds of pissed-off pork is about to steamroll me. I release. Twang. This shot is packed with everything. Every bit of raw power, total focus, and survival instinct I've ever mustered. The bone tip whistles right past the swine's tusks, close enough to give him a shave, and drives straight into the tender flesh behind its ear, sinking all the way up to the fletching. Boom! The creature's own momentum plows it. Another 2 or 3 meters. Right past me. And it crashes headfirst into the tree at my back. The massive trunk, thick as a bowl, shudders so violently that a massive heavy blanket of snow collapses off the limbs. The impact blast sends me flying head over heels, tossing like a rag doll. I flip twice before wiping out, completely buried in white. I scramble up on all fours, locking my eyes on the hog. It's spasming, bloody foam sputtering from its snout. Its hooves are tearing deep ruts into the drifts, but it's grounded for good. That shaft pierced its brain. Not taking any chances, though. 2 more shots. Just gotta wait until it goes completely still. And finally, I exhale that breath I've held on to for what feels like an entire lifetime, before collapsing flat onto my back. A cold sweat instantly drenches right through my gear. The wind hits it, sending violent shivers down my spine. Suddenly, the blue screen bursts with blinding light, more radiant than ever. Defeated, over-leveled adult wild boar. Survived. Life or death combat potential unlocked. Basic archery EXP plus 50. Basic archery initiated. January 18th, 000 initiated. Total, 68/1, 50 points. Man, a single fight beats hunting dozens of rabbits. There's still a massive way to go until that 1,000 point mark. But watching that massive chunk of the progress bar fill up feels absolutely incredible. Plus, there's something else. Right at that final split second, my waist twisted on instinct, and I rolled my shoulder right into the release, imparting a heavy spin onto the arrow. That's exactly why it buried itself so deep. I didn't even plan it. My body just moved on its own. So, this is what actual combat really teaches you. My arms are completely shot, but I can feel a new grit deep in my bones. That definitely wasn't there before. Walking over to the carcass, I give its rock-hard head a heavy kick. Guess you're actually my benefactor. Or should I say, my beneficiator? Alright, now comes the fun part. Dressing a 300-pound boar out in the middle of nowhere, using only a rusty blade. Skinning this thing is brutal. That armor-like layer of pine, sap, and mud resists me every inch. But this pelt is absolutely perfect for crafting leather armor, so there's no way I'm leaving it behind. Next, I pry out the tusks. Sharpen these babies down, and they'll make fine daggers. Light years ahead of my pathetic, rusty knife. But here's the real jackpot. When I slice the belly open, there's a massive, thick layer of pure white lard. Up in these desolate mountains, with 0 oil and 0 salt. This fat is worth way more than gold. It's frying oil, a lotion for frostbitten skin, and a bowstring wax. This stuff is a total lifesaver. I spend over an hour butchering the hog into pieces, then make 3 separate trips hauling the meat, blubber, pelt, and tusks back to camp. Whatever I can't pack out gets buried deep under the snow, marked and peed on, to mask the scent of blood from hungry scavengers. By the time I finish up, it's pitch black out. That evening, I'm searing wild boar strips on a flat stone. Right over the campfire, fat and lean meat crackling away. No spices required. The raw, rich flavor alone has me drooling. Chewing on the tough, savory pork, I run the numbers. With this, hide for leather gear and hundreds of pounds of meat, I'm not just scraping by this winter. I'm living large. Winter fades. Spring arrives, and the season's very first thunderclap echoes through the clouds right over Green Ox Ridge. The lifeless, frozen blanket covering the land finally shatters apart. Melting snow dissolves into countless little rivulets feeding into rushing torrents. Fresh sprouts force their way through the muddy ground like tiny, stubborn fists. And in a secluded nook, beneath a sheltered overhang deep in the peaks, twang, a sleek, white-bone arrowhead cuts through the early air like a swooping hawk, flies across 100 paces, and strikes a gray hair with such force that it flips midair before getting pinned straight to a tree. The fletching of the arrow is still vibrating. I stroll over, grab hold of the shaft, and yank it loose as blood splatters. Lifting the rabbit by its ears, I gauge its weight. I don't even blink. This is just another Tuesday. Just standard breakfast. The guy standing tall in the spring breeze is a far cry from the shivering bag of bones from 3 months ago. I'm rocking gear made of wolf and badger hides that I sewed together on my own. The stitching is still pretty hideous. Looks like massive centipedes are crawling all over me, but it's durable, cozy, and honestly looks kind of badass. My physique underwent a total overhaul over the winter. Not like some goofy, overbulked Hulk, but every bit of exposed muscle, my neck, my wrists, my forearms, is wound tight like braided steel cable. Ripped, explosive, and streamlined. The wind and sun have tanned my skin to bronze, making it rough and callous like tree bark. And as for my eyes, that anxious, terrified kid is long gone. What's left is icy, unwavering, and focused, just like a hawk soaring way up high, hunting for prey. Killed gray rabbit. Basic archery experience, +1. Basic archery, initiated 8. 90/1000. I pull on my status screen, exhale a slow, foggy breath, and give myself a subtle nod. So close. Just a little bit more, and I'll rank up from initiated to minor completion. These past 3 months in the wilderness, I've basically been a wild psycho running around with a bow. Literally anything breathing within 10 miles of my camp turned into target practice. Zippy little pheasants, crafty rabbits, rogue wolves. Hell, I even managed to take down a black bear, though that beast almost finished me. Honestly, the thing had just woken up from hibernation, starving, pissed off, and even though it was emaciated, its heavy paws could smash through rocks. It ended up breaking 2 of my ribs. I ended up stuck in the snow for 3 days, clinging to life on nothing but the bitter fluids I squeezed out of its gallbladder. Kind of like the worst energy drink ever. But that life or death scrap is exactly what took my archery to the next level. Now at 30 paces I can pick off a fly. At 100 paces, dropping a guy is as effortless as reaching into my pocket. That corkscrew piercing method I stumbled into during the boar brawl is fully mastered. My arrows pierce right through thick solid hardwood and tear straight through a double layer of heavy cowhide, pressed together. But the local wildlife just isn't cutting it anymore. Bunnies only grant me a single measly XP point. I've hit a plateau, and it's not just my marksmanship. I've been grinding routines from my previous life. Push-ups and squats. Pull-ups sustained by tons of wild game meat, loaded with pure organic energy. My physique has completely blown past normal human bounds, yet without proper internal cultivation and lacking genuine body-forging arts. I've completely maxed out what basic physical workouts can offer. This is the absolute peak for an ordinary man, but not the peak for a true martial artist. Time to roll out. Staying put as the big boss of this small mountain ridge is pretty cozy for sure, but cozy just means hitting a standstill. I'd end up as just a slightly jacked woodsman. For the rest of my days, vulnerable to getting totally one-shot by any actual martial artist passing through. I head back to my camp one final time. The cabin carries the scent of pine sap, raw leather, and campfire wood smoke, the true aroma of making it out alive. The corners are piled high with dried jerky strips, processed furs, and medicinal plants I collected over the winter season. I only bag up the absolute prime items. One stunning black bear hide with flawless coat, and a pair of tiger bones I salvaged from a dead tiger's carcass. I ran across a decent stash of dried medicinal herbs and some jerky. Traveling light, I pack only the valuables. Everything else, the surplus meat, the ragged fur, blankets, and miscellaneous junk gets left behind. I use a boulder to block half the cave mouth, leaving a small opening. Maybe down the road, some stranded hunter will wander in here during a blizzard, and these leftovers will save his skin. Consider it my parting gift to this mountain ridge that kept me breathing. One final glance at the spot that transformed me from a trembling, spineless corporate drone into whatever I am today. No looking back, just pure grit. Let's move. Green Ox Town, following the spring. Downpours is just as gloomy as I recall. The paths are washed out, ankle deep in a nasty blend of fresh rainwater and livestock manure. The air smells damp and musty. Shops display weathered, peeling storefront signs, run by clerks who look like they've completely checked out. I sneak in disguised as an elderly mountain woodsman, wearing a straw raincoat and a wide bamboo hat tilted low. My face is stained with wild plant sap, to appear properly sallow and weathered. I'm hauling a heavy stack of kindling for cover, plodding along right beside a crowd of other woodcutters heading into town. 3 solid months of surviving like a feral beast has fundamentally remade me. Even if that surviving thug from the night I ambushed, Lou One Blade, were standing directly in front of my face, he wouldn't match this cold-eyed, scruffy-faced guy to the scrawny, frightened kid hunter from back then. Not a chance in hell. I bypass the thoroughfares and duck into the dim back alleys. On the west side of town, black market turf, home to the fences. Contrabandists, sketchy merchants. No one questions where your haul came from. provided it's actually worth buying. I pull up to a dive called Old Huang's. Sundry goods, scanning left and right. With nobody looking, I slip inside. The place is gloomy, reeking of ancient mildew. The shopkeeper is a notorious one-eyed character dubbed Ghost Eye. Huang, slumped on the counter, catching ZS. Detecting my presence. That lone eye snaps open, sizing me up. Like a viper, tracking its next meal. Buying or selling? I offer no reply. Instead, I heave a massive sack off my back and drop it onto his counter, hard enough to make the abacus beads rattle. On nodding one corner, I expose the black bear hide. Sleek, flawless. A real beauty. Ghost Eye. Huang's pupil constricts so sharply I can practically hear it. He snaps from half-baked sleep to sitting bolt upright. In a flash, his fingers caress the coat, taking a sniff, as genuine admiration cracks through his poker face. Top-shelf stuff. A winter bear skin. Prime coloring, no patchy spots. Then he flips it over, running a hand across the scraped underbelly. Expertly skinned, too, not a single gash. Even the eyes and claws are fully intact. Premium grade. Next, he spots the tiger bones and herbs. Avarice dancing across his expression. You really know your business, pal. This wasn't an easy catch, was it? Don't pry into things that aren't your concern. My voice hits the air deep, gruff and frosty. Give me a number. Silver coins only. Ghost Eye smirks and raises a single, skeletal finger. 100 taels. That's the absolute max in this town. I'm only giving you this rate, since you're a fresh face and I like networking. I scoff and silently begin resecuring my pack. No second thoughts, no theatricality. Just packing up. This bear pelt goes for 300. At the very least in the capital. If you aren't playing for real, I'll head right over to Jubal House next door. Hold on. Why the attitude? He clutches the pack, forcing a grin with sheer desperation. We're just bargaining, aren't we? You highball, I lowball. 150. That is my absolute limit. I run risks here too. I keep tying the knots. 180, a fair price, pal. Leave a guy enough to make a living. I pause. My gaze locks straight onto his from beneath my brim. I state flatly. 200 taels, not a single cent less. A wave of murderous intent radiates off me. 3 months of butchering beasts in the wild, all channeled into a single glare. The sort of vibe that forces a man's gut instincts to scream danger. Ghost Eye's posture goes rigid, and he gulps heavily. He realizes he's facing someone who has shed blood, plenty of it, and is completely done messing around. He stares down at the hide, calculating the potential profit in his mind, and finally slaps the surface. Fine, 200 taels it is. Solely because your merchandise is truly premium grade. The transaction ends quickly. I take the hefty sack of coin, hefting it to verify the weight, and fasten it to my belt. Yet I linger. I knock on the desk, nonchalantly. Any worthwhile gossip circulating lately? Ghost Eye's gleefully stroking his new pelt. He replies immediately with the latest gossip. Oh, tons of it. The biggest news is the Black Tiger gang got totally annihilated. My heart flutters, oh, due laboraci. So 3 months back, that one blade, Lou, got slaughtered in Widow Alley dead. Extremely messy, too. So he really bit the dust. Excellent. Their syndicate leader, Thunder Tiger Lay, went completely off the deep end, trying to track down some young hunter named Wang Qing. He tore through the outer mountains for a solid month, but found absolutely nothing. Ghost Eye wags his head, smirking, as if this is the most hilarious thing he's heard all year. But all that commotion, blocking off the roads, and extorting the locals, really ticked off some traveling martial arts expert. This dude strolls into the Black Tiger gang's base solo, tears Thunder Tiger's arm off, and pretty much decapitated him. Honestly, would have finished it if the boss hadn't dropped to his knees to beg. Right now, the faction is a shambles. Thunder Tiger is limping around hunting for physicians. Their whole setup is crumbling to pieces, and nobody gives a damn about anything else. Concealed beneath my headwear, the edge of my lips twists into a grim smirk. Bad guys get dealt with by even worse guys. Fantastic. As it happens, staying low in the wilderness for 3 months was the ultimate timing. Thunder Tiger can barely keep his own limb attached. Wang Qing is likely cataloged as deceased and forgotten at this point. Best update I've had all year. Got anything else? I flip a silver coin to Ghost Eye. He snatches it instantly and drops his tone, whispering that the Baji clan in the province. The city starts recruiting next month. They're a powerhouse here in Yunzhou. Deep-rooted, legitimate martial arts. Smashed boulders, leaping across rooftops. The real deal. Young guys from all over are flooding the capital to take a shot. The Baji sect. My eyes light up, and my pulse actually quickens. This is exactly what I need most. Authentique combat technique. Legit styles with genuine cultivation forms. Relying just on archery won't cut it. The second anyone gets in my face, I am toast. Heaven rewards diligence. Requires proper martial arts manuals to level up. Without them, half my cheat code is totally wasted. Baji. I remember that name from my previous life. Baji Quan, one of the most aggressive. Araditing disciplines sin Chinese Kung Fu. Shares a vibe with Muay Thai, ruthless, straightforward, and devastating. If this clan plays by those rules, it's a perfect match for me. Thanks. I don't waste another second talking. Hat pulled down out the door. I make a few quick errands around town. A clothier for some durable travel gear. And thick-sole boots. I finally ditched that absurd, patched-together bee-skin getup. An apothecary for wound ointment and bug powder. A supplier for a 10-day ration of dried food. And water. Fresh pack strapped on. New steel blade at my hip. It's budget iron, but light years ahead of that rusty piece of junk. With my trusty mulberry bough still slung over my shoulder, I make tracks for the gate. Along the way, I pass by the hunter's settlement. I pause a short distance away. My old cabin caved in under the winter snows. Nothing's left now but a heap of rotting timber. As weeds sprout through the rubble, the village remains completely unchanged. Dead-eyed folks just scraping by, stressing over a few pennies of tax. I won't head in and I don't feel down. The kid named Wang Qing who used to live in that hovel passed away on a winter night 3 months back. The guy standing right here now is a totally different breed, someone pursuing martial arts excellence, seeking total mastery over his own fate. Yinzhou Prefecture, Baji Sect. With one final look at the ruins, I turn and blend into the crowd exiting the town, passing right through that collapsing gateway. Outside, a spring breeze hits my face, and green willow buds line the path ahead. A broad highway stretches out far into the distance, leading straight to the prefecture city, and toward the vast, untamed, and treacherous world of martial artists. I grab my bow and march forward with long, confident steps. This time, I'm not running away. I'm going hunting, and this whole world is my prey. The moment I exit Green Ox Ridge territory, the mountain paths merge straight into a wider main highway that is absolutely repulsive. Spring showers have turned it into a winding tract of yellow sludge. Deep cart tracks crisscross all over the place, flooded with filthy water smelling of decayed vegetation, manure, and other things I'd honestly rather not name. I stick close to the withered grass along the edge, carefully avoiding those ankle-deep mud pits. The further I go, the heavier my heart feels. Every couple of miles, corpses lie strewn in the weeds, some mauled by stray dogs, until nothing but bare bones remain. Others bloated and purple with noisy crows, tearing and pecking at the rotting flesh. And some freshly slain with the blood still wet, stripped completely bare and dumped right in the muck. Those nomadic traders just stroll on past without a single glance, treating the dead like they're mere fallen logs. So this is life in the Jianghu beyond the city walls. Human lives are worth less than weeds. Clutching my bow a bit tighter, I stay on high alert. My archery skills might be solid, but trekking alone through this mess makes me a sitting duck for anyone waiting to ambush me. As dusk approaches, I spot something up ahead. A massive merchant convoy camped out by a ruined tea shack. Roughly 12 freight wagons are grouped in a protective ring with maybe 40 or 50 sentries in matching blue gear, armed with broadswords, keeping watch around the flank with cold, menacing glances. The flag on the flagship wagon reads Shunfeng, the Shunfeng trading firm, one of the powerhouse outfits in Yunzhou Prefecture. I paused away my options. The path forward is a dangerous stretch known as Ghost's Despair. Crossing it solo after dark is pretty much begging to end up as another rotting corpse by the wayside. I need a safe haven and some protection for the night. Fixing my straw rain cloak, I tweak my new steel blade and bow, then approach the convoy. Hold it. State your business. Before I can even get within 30 feet, a scarred mercenary grips the hilt of his sword and snaps at me. Bow respectfully, I adopt my most submissive, country hick tone, and explained that I'm just a traveler bound for town, hoping to tag along for safety. Scarface sizes me up, staring at my rough, heavily calloused hands for a moment, then smirks. You want to hitch a ride? 2 taels of silver. That covers water, but no food. If raiders strike, you're on your own. You sleep on the outermost perimeter, and don't you dare step within 10 paces of the freight. Cross us. He drags a finger across his neck. 2 taels, that's 2 whole months of easy living. For a family of 3 back home in Greenox Town. But hey, that's what it costs to stay safe. In a brutal world where dead bodies litter the roads like fallen autumn leaves, I retrieve a silver piece I'd kept ready beforehand. No second thoughts. Of course, naturally. Well, at least you don't dawdle. He tosses me a wooden token engraved with the symbol for loose, meaning an unattached traveler, and points his thumb back toward the rear. Fasten it to your belt and don't stray. Don't pester the VIPs. I hook the badge on, give a nod, and silently blend into the back of the convoy. There's a whole crowd of folks just like me back here. Refugees dragging their kin along, their eyes filled with terror, a merchant, clutching his wares like they're his own kids, and a few greenhorn mercenaries carrying cheap blades, who obviously imagine they're about to star in some grand heroic epic. Everyone watches each other with suspicion. Nobody utters a word. Same old story. Night falls, the wind starts howling, and dried leaves drift across the dirt. The caravan establishes camp out in an open clearing. Guards arrange the wagons into a defensive ring, kindle massive bonfires within the circle, and begin simmering meat stew in iron cauldrons. Laughter, drinking games, the scent of hot food. They've got it made in there. Out here, on the periphery, we crowd together to stay warm, gnaw on our bone-dry survival rations, and gawk at the firelight like stray mutts outside a tavern. I track down an old tree root to perch on, close enough to catch a bit of light, but mostly kept in shadow, so I can observe everything without drawing any eyes. I snap open a rock-solid travel biscuit, crumble it down, and chew as noiselessly as I can. Not far away, some rookie guards have gathered, around an old caravan master whom everyone calls. Old Ma is clearly the veteran here. With a flushed face and wine gourd in hand, he's a bit tipsy, and ready to spin a yarn. Come on, Old Ma, do tell. The chief escort is protecting this cargo himself. What the heck are we hauling that's so pricey? A rookie guard stokes the campfire and leans in closely. Beat it. Quit poking your nose where it doesn't belong. Unless you want your head chopped off. Old Ma glares fiercely at the kid, then takes the satisfying swig from his jug. But I will tell you this much. Our chief escort is a master of the bone forging realm. In this entire Yunzhou region. That basically makes him a god. What idiot bandit would dare mess with someone like that? Bone forging realm? Asks a boy from the outer ring. He's a young fellow with a massive saber strapped to his back, obviously on his first real outing and unable to contain himself. Old sir, just how many stages do the martial arts actually have? My old man taught me a couple of blade techniques, but he never brought up any cultivation realms. He just told me to practice hard and slay enemies. A few other listeners prick up their ears at the question. For folks at the bottom of the ladder like us, the martial world is shrouded in mystery, an unattainable realm we've only ever heard whispers about. I chew my food more slowly and incline my head slightly toward the group. This is exactly the kind of intel I'm looking for. Old Ma is in a generous mood tonight. He casts a glance at the youngster and scoffs. Simple village brawling. That's just farmers throwing punches, not real martial arts. He thumps his wine flask down on the ground and clears his throat dramatically. Since you punks want to learn, let your elder school you a bit. Keep your ears open. If you head into the capital city completely clueless like this, you're bound to cross the wrong person and get yourself killed without even knowing why. For us fighters, we condition the body externally and build internal energy, but actually mastering that inner breath. Man, that's next level stuff for regular folks like us. First, you've got to conquer the body's 5 thresholds. He raises a single calloused finger by the campfire. Stage 1, skin conditioning. You soak in herbal tonics, batter yourself with wooden clubs, and scrub down with gritty sand. You harden your skin until it feels like old leather. Standard strikes and kicks won't faze you, even if a blade slashes across. It barely leaves a pale mark. Once you hit that mark, you've officially crossed the threshold, even if you're just throwing wild brawler punches. A handful of massive guys won't stand a chance. I unconsciously check my own arm. Sure, my skin is leathery, but that's purely from chapped weather and sunburns. If someone were to slice me with a blade right now, I'd bleed like a pig. I'm nowhere near that scratch-resistant level. Phase 2. Tendon conditioning. Old Ma's gaze turns nostalgic. Tough hide won't cut it. You've got to forge those tendons. The old folks say, stretch a tendon by an inch, and you gain 10 pounds of force. This phase costs serious cash. Pricey herbs and specific stance work. You elongate and condition every primary tendon until they mimic taut bowstrings, springy and full of explosive power. At this tier, your hands strike like lightning and hit like a thunderclap. Dropping an ox with a single blow is no joke. Stage 3, bone tempering. That's our chief escort's rank. Old Ma lowers his pitch now, full of deep respect. He sits up a bit straighter, bones dense as solid iron, and marrow heavy as quicksilver. By this point, Every bone in your frame becomes metallic. The power is insane. Just look at the chief escort's physique. That guy is basically molded from steel. Out on these roads, he's the ultimate Grim Reaper. Regular blades and swords just bounce right off him with a clang. Won't even leave a scratch on his bones. What about beyond that? Is there a higher level? Someone questions eagerly, eyes filled with yearning. Of course there is. Old Ma whispers, as if revealing some forbidden secrets. The fourth gate, organ tempering. The 5 organs and 6 viscera. That's a person's core foundation. At this tier, your breath runs deep and endless, like a tortoise's. A single exhale packs enough force to pierce through flesh, and your stamina is practically limitless. That's a true powerhouse. The kind of master who can establish a sect. Take the leader of the Baji sect in the prefectural capital. Word is a single shout from him can rupture a man's insides. Now after the 5th gate, blood, transmutation. Old Ma gets a faraway look in his eyes. That's pure myth. Blood thick as liquid mercury. The strength of 10,000 pounds. That's shedding human limits and stepping into divinity. I've heard tales about it my whole life, but never witnessed it. Total silence falls over the group. Save for the crackling bonfire, sitting in the shadows, clutching a half-crushed biscuit in my fist. My mind is racing like a tidal wave. Skin tempering, tendon transformation, bone forging, organ tempering, and blood transmutation. So that's the martial path, the hierarchy of power in this world. I reflect on my past 3 months. Back when I took on that wild boar, my arrow couldn't even penetrate its muddy hide. That beast essentially possessed a skin-tempering level of defense. Granted, I've grown significantly stronger since then. I could draw a heavy bow easily, and I've mastered the spiral-piercing technique. But that's just pure hard, grinding through the heaven rewards diligence system. Just raw power and skill without actual physical cultivation. Yet, when it comes to brute strength, I'm probably a match for any skin-tempering warrior. When it comes to sheer lethality, if I achieve minor mastery in archery within 100, paces even a tendon. Transformation Master is a goner if my shot strikes a vital spot while they're off guard. But looking down at my own chest, I could only smile bitterly. I'm the ultimate glass cannon. Insane offense, zero defense. Never harden my skin, never temper my bones. If an opponent gets close and connects with one solid blow, this frame of mine breaks like a clay pot. That's the massive gap between raw wilderness brawling and legitimate martial arts training. I absolutely must join the Bodhi sect. Without a proper body-refining technique, I'll never be more than just a slightly dangerous hunter. The moment I cross paths with a real powerhouse, I'm totally finished before I even realize it. Right as that thought crossed my mind, suddenly, a piercing screech slices through the darkness, followed by a thundering stampede approaching from all sides, intertwined with rowdy, arrogant laughter. Listen up, we've got a live one. State your business, travelers. Shunfeng Trading Company here. Show some professional courtesy. The guards respond instantly, unsheathing their blades, backing up against the carts in a tight, defensive ring. The atmosphere instantly tightens to the absolute breaking point. My reflexes kick in faster. I shove the biscuit into my jacket, raise my bow, and slip into the nearby shadows as stealthily as a cat. With an arrow knocked, I scan the pitch-black surroundings, perfectly calm and focused. By the glow of the campfire, I notice the path ahead is barricaded. Someone has hauled several massive logs across the track, out from the tree line on both flanks. Dozens of masked thugs emerge carrying weapons, reeking of bloodlust. Courtesy? I want cash. The bandit captain barks from atop a massive stallion, brandishing a formidable, heavy broadsword. That guy is definitely an expert cultivator. His voice sounds like grating metal. Drop the cargo, spare your own skins, and beat it. Else, we'll slaughter everyone, no burials provided. The regular passengers are shivering with fear. Mothers are muffling their kids' cries, weeping quietly. Then a massive blast like low thunder cracks right next to everyone's ears. My heart literally stops. The drapes of the grandest, most luxurious carriage burst open, and a guy steps out, bare-chested in the biting cold wind. A single flimsy tunic drapes over his shoulders. His physique seems completely sculpted from granite, shining with a bronze-gold hue under the firelight. The dude is built like an iron fortress. This is the head guard of Shunfeng Trading, the legendary Iron Arm Bear, Lu Tai. Ignoring the outlaws entirely, he strides directly toward the massive, toppled tree blocking their path. Every single step makes the earth vibrate a little. Beat it. Just one word, and his right arm strikes. No special style, no flashy techniques. Just a direct punch backed by a roaring gale. targeting a trunk as thick as a grown man's thigh. Boom! The timber shatters into kindling, blowing up, as if slammed by artillery fire. The splintered stump is completely wrecked and jagged, leaving a deep indentation in the dirt below. Utter stillness grips the area. The bandit captain's eyes are practically popping out. His massive blade nearly slips from his grasp, while his mount shrieks and recoils. Bone forging stage. Peak bone forging. Smashes stone and solid wood. With bare fists. All that cockiness vanishes from his face like water on a scorching skillet, instantly replaced by sheer panic. He yanks the reins so violently his stallion rears up. Retreat. Pull back. He's too dangerous. Move. The entire gang of thieves vanishes. Back into the woods even quicker than they arrived. Poof, gone. There's nothing left but stray footprints and debris on the ground. Lutai brushes with chips off his hands like he's just swatted a fly, then turns around with a completely blank stare and gets back into his carriage. Clear the path, roll out. The guards gaze at that carriage with absolute reverence in their eyes, shrouded in the dark. I slowly loosen my grip on the bowstring. My hand is completely drenched in sweat. I stare at that obliterated tree stump. That kind of power, if that struck a person, it would leave nothing but a gory mess. If it hit me, my hide armor and conditioned muscles would be like wet tissue paper, absolute tissue paper. So, that is the bone forging realm. Could my armor-piercing shot even scratch his skeleton? I honestly don't have the answer, but I do know one thing for sure. Compared to the true powerhouses of this world, I'm still incredibly weak. Yet, somehow, that doesn't get me down. Quite the opposite. My blood is pumping. A sensation I've never experienced before is blazing in my chest. A fierce, unadulterated craving for strength. I watch Lu Tai's massive, imposing frame vanish behind the curtain, and the fire in my eyes burns more intensely than ever. One day, I'll possess that kind of force. No, with my status screen, I'll be 1,000 times, 10,000 times stronger. Taking a deep breath, I bury that overwhelming shock deep down and quietly follow the convoy as it presses on through the dark night, heading toward the major hub of Yunzhou Prefecture. The closer we draw to Yunzhou Prefecture, the more the road shifts from muddy sludge to solid gravel, and the traffic transitions from the occasional desperate nomad to a full-on fantasy world rush hour. Warriors with lethal stares and endless trade convoys, plus some high-end coaches towed by strange beasts, flanked by full security details zooming past the crowd, leaving everyone behind in the dust, green with envy. Day 5, right around noon, our convoy makes it over a ridge named Dragon Spine. Honestly, it completely took my breath away for a moment. Sprawling all over the flatlands ahead, there is a massive shape resembling some ancient monster, stretched out across the landscape. Behold the great city wall of Yunzhou Prefecture. It is made of dark greenish rock, dozens of meters high, soaking up the midday sun without reflecting a bit of warmth. It just gives off this icy, forbidding shimmer. The watchtowers loom like peaks with battle standards, flapping fiercely in the breeze hundreds of feet up. Even miles out, the sheer presence of the place feels heavy. Next to this monstrosity, the wall back home around Green Ox Town was pretty much a toddler's sandbox project. The whole convoy starts shouting for joy. The mercenaries, who have been white-knuckling their weapon handles for 5 straight days, finally let their guard down, already fantasizing about booze and girls. But I don't celebrate. Instead, my body tenses up automatically. Beneath ramparts of this scale, a human being is nothing but an insect. Once we reach the threshold, I part ways with the group. The main entryway looks like some colossal maw, devouring an endless stream of travelers. 2 lines of heavily armored guards glare down at the crowd, treating everyone like mindless cattle. The toll is 10 coins per head. Seriously, 10 whole coins? That used to feed a family for a couple of days back in Green Ox Town. Around here, though, it's just the basic price of admission. Huddled near the stone structure, hollow-eyed, ragged refugees stare at the gates. To them, 10 coins might as well be 10,000. They're stuck outside forever. I toss my money into the payment box with a completely blank face. Clink, clink, clink. As I walk inside, the wall of noise hits me like a physical blow. The din actually makes my ears throb. Vermilion Bird Boulevard is wide enough for 4 wagons to drive abreast, paved with sleek, polished bluestone, worn mirror smooth by countless footsteps. Towers loom on both sides, with wine banners and red lanterns. Shops line every corner, vendors shouting, people bargaining, melodies drifting through, and horses clopping by. The entire city is buzzing like a boiling pot. Plump merchants clad in silk robes. Thugs strutting around with fierce attack dogs, and elite. Heirs on pricey steeds, looking down on everyone else. The air is a wild blend of perfume, roasted meat, and animal dung. This is Yunzhou Prefecture, equally glamorous and corrupt, with my worn travel gear about strapped to my back, and a steel blade at my hip. Back in Greenockstown, I'd look pretty badass. But around here, I just seem like a clueless hick who wandered in from the sticks. Still, I keep a steady pace and a calm gaze. I've hunted down black bears in the deep wilderness. I've faced real blood and actual death. This city's glitz might be blinding, but it won't rattle my core. First things first, my stomach is throwing a fit. The aromas from the food stalls are driving me crazy. I spot a noodle stand. Order 2 massive bowls of pork noodles and a pound of braised beef. Slurp. Chewy strands drenched in a rich, dark sauce glide down my throat as a burst of savory spices. It's my taste buds. For the first time in 3 months, this feels downright heavenly. I devour it quickly but cleanly. A habit from surviving out in the wild. Efficient, laser-focused, with no wasted effort. Hey boss, quick question. I put down my bowl, wipe my mouth, and toss a piece of silver onto the table. Which way to the Bodhi sect? The vendor was giving me the total, you look broke vibe, right up until he caught sight of that silver. Right away, his eyes crinkled into joyful little crescents. Oh, you're looking to sign up, huh? Man, you're the 100th person asking about this week. Just head east down Vermilion Bird Avenue. Straight to the very end. You can't miss the 2 stone lions that are bigger than houses. Hard to miss it. Grabbing my pack, I make a break for the east. The vibe of the crowd shifts the further I go. It's mostly young guys now, tons of them, probably 17 or 18. A few are decked out in fancy silk with servants trailing along. Noses stuck in the air, while others wear basic homespun cloth and straw sandals, carrying dry rations on their backs. You can see both hope and nerves in their eyes. Everyone's heading the exact same way, like moths drawn to a flame. 30 minutes later, there they are, 2 massive stone lions, standing guard by a deep red gate that's 2 stories high, glaring down at everyone passing by like a pair of furious judges. Mounted above the entryway is a dark plaque bearing 3 golden characters, Baji Sect. The calligraphy looks like it was hacked out with an axe, just oozing raw, aggressive, and dominating power. The plaza out front is already a packed sea of faces. With hundreds of people jammed together, I tub my hat down low, blending right into the crowd like a single drop of water, and stake out a spot in the shadow of a stone pillar where I can scope out the scene without drawing any attention. Classic mountain instincts. When you're up against something this massive and heavy, observe more, keep your mouth shut, and stay alive. The mob is currently being sorted into 2 lines by hefty guys clad in dark blue uniforms and black sashes. Listen up, all of you. A broad-chested dude with an unbuttoned shirt, showing off a seriously impressive mat of chest hair, takes his stand on the elevated stone, steps and bellows like a cracked brass gong. A bunch of kids in the front row immediately clamp their ears shut. The Bodhi sect offers 2 different routes for admission. Left side is to become a standard student. No age restrictions, no special talent needed. So long as you're family. If you can cough up 10 taels of silver a month for tuition, plus another 3 taels for room and board, you're locked in. Our masters will train you in the fundamentals of body conditioning, just enough to stay in shape and defend your home. Plus, simply carrying the Bodhi sect's name means nobody will dare mess with you on the streets of Yunzhou. Right side, become a formal disciple entirely free of charge. We'll feed you, house you, provide your meals, and even give you monthly pocket money. You'll learn the authentic techniques, the lethal arts. As long as you've got the grit to endure it, you can master them all. He pauses, his gaze sweeping across the scruffy, desperate-looking kids on the right with a knowing grin. Of course, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Once you step inside these gates and accept the sect's charity, you're considered family. And as family, when the sect's businesses need backing up, or when our merchant caravans require escorts, we naturally expect our brothers to step up and carry their weight. But first things first, you've got to pass the entry requirements. If you're over 20, pack it up. Can't pass the trial? Hit the road. The speech sounds incredibly noble and grand. But my 3 grueling months of fighting for survival out in the wild instinctively warn me of danger. Let me break down what he's actually saying. The student track means you fork over cash, buy the Bodhi sect's reputation as a shield, and learn some flashy, useless forms. You'll never touch the real deal. You're just a cash cow. The disciple track means free martial arts training, but you become the sect's muscle. Their hired enforcer, their expendable pawn. If they order you to fight, you throw down. If they say, put your life on the line, you bleed for them. Over on the left, in the student line, it's packed with soft-handed rich boys and silks with servants, fanning them while they whisper to one another with smug looks. For guys like that, 13 taels a month is mere chump change. The kind of money they drop on tea at a high-end brothel. They didn't come to scrap. They're just paying for a badge that screams, don't screw with me. I've got the Baji sect backing me up. Over on the right, the disciple queue has two crowds. Broke folks like me, rough-faced peasants, street thugs, and random kids with torn bags praying to hit the jackpot. And then, sprinkled among us, are actually gifted wealthy kids who legitimately want to become real fighters. I crunched the numbers. 200 taels feels like a massive fortune, but that's only 13 a month for basic tuition. It runs dry in a year and a half, and for what? Some watered-down, trash techniques. That won't save my skin against a real threat. I still remember Liu Tai smashing that tree to dust. Now, that's legitimate martial arts. Anything less is just playing dress-up. If I'm going to put my life on the line anyway, I might as well risk it for something worthwhile. Without a second thought, I head right toward the disciple line. The queue moves quickly because the washout rate is brutal. Phase 1, bone examination. A scrawny elder lounges in a large chair, puffing on a pipe. His eyes are jaundiced and dim, yet the grip he uses to grab people's wrists is like an iron vice. Ow! A massive fellow shrieks as the old man pinches his arm. Your bone growth is finished. You're 25 at least, faking a younger age. Hit the bricks. The elder shoves him aside like a stray dog without even glancing up. Terrible skeletal structure. Decayed wood. Unteachable. Get lost. Wasted by loose living. Vitality and spirit totally drained. Rejected. His hands function like the ultimate precision scale. A solitary squeeze reveals your entire history. Out of the initial dozen candidates ahead of me, 7 or 8 are kicked out. My turn. I pull off my hat, exposing my sunbeaten face. No flashy drama. I just push up my sleeve and present my arm. The old man indifferently reaches out with a pair of fingers. As he grabs hold of my wrist, the very second we make contact, those hazy eyes suddenly light up and he drops his pipe. His skeletal hand slides up from my wrist to my forearm, moves past my elbow, and grips my shoulder in a tight vice. A small gasp of shock slips out of him. I know exactly what he's sensing. On the outside, I look just like any other scrawny kid who'd blend into a crowd. But beneath the surface, 3 whole months of gorging on wild boar and black bear meat. 3 months of life-or-death survival in brutal blizzards. Doing push-ups, squats, and pull-ups day in and day out. Plus, nearly 1,000. Triggers of the heaven rewards diligence buff. Surging warm energy directly into my muscles and bones. Silently transforming this body into a total killing machine. The old man has absolutely no clue about that. All he can feel is leathery skin, 0 body fat. Muscles coiled as tight as ancient vines. And dense, rock-hard bones radiating an intense, explosive power forged on the brink of death. Bone age, 18. Well under the cutoff. He gives me a long, intense look, his tone turning noticeably more respectful. Excellent physical foundation. Very solid. Head inside. For the next test, I accept the wooden token he hands over. Give a nod, and step through the second gateway. The inner courtyard is massive and wide open, with packed yellow dirt underfoot. Weapon racks and training stones are scattered everywhere. Right in the middle sit 3 massive green stone locks, with their weights carved right into them. 300 gene, 500 gene, and 800 gene. That translates to roughly 330, 550, and 880 pounds. An instructor built like a brick wall, with a scowling, intimidating face, stands on the steps above us. His arms are crossed, glaring down at everyone like we're bugs. Second test. Raw strength. His voice booms like a crack of thunder. The Baji sect walks the path of absolute, crushing force. A single shoulder strike can shatter the heavens. If a single stomp doesn't shake the ground with sheer force, you might as well give up on learning Baji Quan. Gesticulating toward the smallest stone padlock, he lays down the law. It's 300 gene. One-handed or two-handed, it makes no difference to me. Hoist it above your head to pass. If you fail, go on home and babysit. 300 gene. The entire crowd gasps in unison. Your average strongman can maybe manage 150 gene. Moving 300 requires either some freakish natural power or hardcore physical conditioning. I'll give it a shot first. A country boy built like a brick wall steps up to the plate. He spits on his hands, grips the handles, and yanks upward. Arf! His face instantly flushes to a deep, purplish crimson. The veins in his neck bulge out like earthworms. He manages to get it to his chest, but hits a wall. His arms tremble violently as his legs start to give way. He just can't lock it out overhead. Clang! The heavy lock plummets back down, kicking up a cloud of dust. He collapses into the dirt, wheezing and utterly defeated. Can't even handle 300? Worthless. Beat it. The coach shows absolutely no pity. The next dozen candidates bomb out as well. A few can't even budge it off the deck. This challenge is an iron barrier, crushing the hopes of everyday people. Next, inhaling deeply, I step up to the mark with a steady stride. The onlookers take one gander at my slender build and begin whispering. This beanpole is actually trying. He's gonna snap his back. That massive dude couldn't even budge it. And this twig thinks he has a shot. I tune it all out. Standing before the stone lock, I keep my mouth shut. There's no shouting, no trying to psych myself up. I merely look at the block in silence, recalling what it felt like to haul a 300-pound wild boar carcass through knee-deep snow back to my camp, making multiple treks up the mountain. Crouching down, I firmly lock both hands around the course handles. Right then it clicks. The energy coiled deep within me like a dormant dragon, the result of nearly 1,000 hard training sessions. It was forged into every single muscle and bone. A single thought flashed through my mind, and my legs, core, back, and arms locked in sync. That 300-gene stone lock came off the dirt as if it had lost half its weight. It rose effortlessly, gliding past my knees, clearing my waist and reaching my chest. With an explosive thrust, I drove both arms up, without a single tremor or a flushed face. Even my breathing remained perfectly steady. That solid 300-gene block hovered above me, unmoving as a mountain peak, making it feel like I was just holding some groceries. Suddenly, a dead silence washed over the courtyard. Every single onlooker gawked at me as if I were some kind of freak. The meat-faced instructor's smug indifference completely shattered, his eyes widening in absolute disbelief. I kept the lock pressed overhead for 3 full breaths, then brought it down with complete and fluid control, setting it down softly so it wouldn't crack the floor. I didn't even bother looking at the 500 or 800 gene weights. The law of the wilds revealed just enough teeth to stay alive. Show your entire hand, and you're just begging to get wiped out. So, does that count as a pass? I asked, brushing off my palms, glancing up toward the instructor on the stairs. I met his gaze with a cold, unblinking expression. The meat-faced trainer kept staring at me like he wanted to flay the skin right off my body with his eyes. After a heavy silence, he snorted, "Decent raw power? You pass. Go wait over there." By the tail end of the afternoon, the physical assessment finally wrapped up. Out of the crowd, barely 20 or 30 candidates managed to hoist that 300-gene stone lock. And over half of them were just wealthy, local elites from the prominent Yunzhou clans, raised on pricey medicinal diets and elite private coaching. We're wrapping up Tuesday morning's 300-gene lift when, out of nowhere, a guy in a black robe appears, up on the high platform overlooking the training grounds. His face is stone cold, like it was carved from iron. He keeps his energy completely bottled up and hidden. Yet every single survival instinct I developed, while fighting to stay alive back in those mountains, is screaming at me that this dude is terrifying, easily 10 times more dangerous than our meathead instructor. I am Xiao Gang, outer gate steward of the Bodhi sect. His voice isn't loud, but it slices right through the air like ice water poured down your spine. Lifting 300 gene just proves your body isn't completely worthless, but that is the bare minimum for a disciple. The Baji sect is no pig farm. Raw strength, without brains, just makes you livestock, not a martial artist. Third test, comprehension. I'm going to demonstrate our foundational stances. The 2 principal stances exactly once. You have half an hour. If you can hold the form properly, you're a full disciple. Food, shelter, and real techniques. If you can't, your head is full of mush. Go home. Everyone stops breathing. Every single eye locks onto the platform to watch Zhao Gang's feet slam apart. Thud. The packed dirt cracks wide open under his shoes, leaving behind 2 shallow craters. He drops his shoulders, lowers his elbows, and rounds his back, curving his arms as if he's hugging a massive, invisible ball. His whole presence shifts. He goes from a regular man, standing on a stage, to an ancient pine tree deeply rooted in a cliffside, immovable, eternal, and radiating a quiet power. 2 principles give birth to 4 forms. Blood and energy flow through the entire body. This stance nurtures the breath and seals the blood. Focus on the waist and spine, channeling power to all 4 extremities, he explains, while breaking down the core mechanics at the same time. With his voice booming, everyone rushes to mimic him, and I do too. Keep feet wide apart and drop your center of gravity. Man, it feels incredibly awkward at first. Like every single muscle is fighting the other. After about 10 breaths, my thighs really start to burn. But the second I force my weight to steady, bong, that massive bell rings inside my head again. The same sound I haven't heard in months. The blue panel flashes open. 2 principal stances. Not yet initiated. 1/100. Oh, hell yes. My heart nearly leaps with pure joy. My absolute biggest fear was that this interface only applied to archery or basic combat skills. But since the stance is registered, it means my bypass all bottlenecks cheat. The one ensuring endless progress works on martial art cultivation as well. Suddenly, a warm wave surges at the base of my spine, acting like an invisible hand that softly realigns my skeleton and muscles. My tense shoulders are guided down into the perfect posture, and my loose hips lock right into position. That straining muscle pain instantly gets cut in half, swapping out for this incredibly smooth sensation of blood circulating flawlessly through my entire body. It hits me that if I maintain this exact stance for 2 hours a day over just a few straight days, I could easily breeze past the initiated rank and leave that stone-faced steward completely jaw-dropped. But that thought only survives in my mind for precisely 1 second before I shut it down. No way, absolutely not. Don't draw any attention. I inhale deeply and actively force my body to fight against its own natural urge to perfect the form. I intentionally slacken my hips, make my legs shake unevenly, and hold my breath until my face goes totally bright red while massive beads of sweat start pouring down my brow. I act like I'm barely hanging on in this stance. Because think about it, if some random nobody hunter out of the sticks shows up with freaky, innate power and nails a form flawlessly after seeing it just once, that doesn't make you a promising recruit. That makes you a terrifying anomaly they'll have to investigate. In a joint like this, the tallest tree catches the wind first. I become a target overnight. Every single faction within the sect would either try to sign me or break me. I get sucked into internal power struggles as premium cannon fodder. And the real kicker? Heaven rewards diligence won't survive any close scrutiny. If I turn into the star prodigy, everyone's watching. Some sharp-eyed elder is going to notice that I never hit any walls, that I don't need moments of enlightenment, and that I just mechanically grind reps and grow stronger, like some kind of freaky machine, in a world where martial arts secrets are absolutely worth killing for. A body that completely defies all cultivation logic. They'll dissect me, literally. I don't need famous masters breathing down my neck, and I don't need the prodigy spotlight. I'll keep shaking and grimacing on the outside, while my brain runs cold calculations underneath it all. What I actually need is free food, free lodging, access to training manuals, and a legitimate excuse to get meat and medicine. That's it. The more invisible I remain, the more they'll dismiss me as strong but brainless, not worth investing in. That means more freedom for me. It's the dream setup. Get branded as a brainless, muscle-bound grunt, and then get shipped off to some forgotten backwater post, an isolated herbal plot, a hunting area out in the sticks, a spot where no one is keeping tabs and nobody gives a damn what I'm up to. That's exactly where I'll level up in peace. The best part about getting dumped at some godforsaken station is that there's zero supervision. By day, I play the part of an incompetent pack mule, but by night, I turn into the grim reaper of the deep woods, grinding my archery skills to near perfection, and my little secret stays totally under wraps. Just imagine it. One day, some enemy thinks they've trapped a talentless grunt from the Baji sect. They swagger on over to finish me off, and right then, a silent arrow straight through the skull. Or maybe a devastating palm strike from 2 fully master core stances. They're dead before they even realize what hit him. Man, that's the beauty of being underestimated. It's the ultimate survival strategy. Pant, pant, pant. I'm huffing and puffing like a dying ox, sweat coming down in absolute buckets, looking just like a drowned rat that someone dragged through the mud. Honestly, it's an Oscar-worthy performance by yours truly. That half-hour horse stance is proving to be pure torture for the rest of them, too. Within minutes, guys are dropping left and right. One dude wipes out, his legs totally giving way. A pair of stone-faced enforcers haul him off on the spot. Disqualified, Xiao Gang's voice cuts through like a whip, triggering a total domino effect. Throughout the next 15 minutes, one after another, folks start collapsing as blood pools up the wrong way, and their legs turn to absolute jelly. Muscles are packing in, with groans and gasps echoing everywhere. Limp bodies are getting chucked out of the courtyard like sacks of trash. The moment the incense stick finally burns down, time's up. Another 2 guys drop immediately the second they can catch their breath. The grand total: 7 out of some 20-odd who cleared the power test. 7 left standing, including me, and one guy really pops out. Some wealthy kid rocking pricey silk martial arts gear. He looks wiped, but keeps his spine straight, and his form actually nails around 30% of the proper form. Decent grit right there. Xiao Gang looks down at the 7 of us from the stairs, totally stone-faced. Starting today, you're formally initiated into the Baji sect. But perks aren't handed out equally here. Followers have rankings. He gestures towards Silk Boy. And for the very first time, I catch a glimpse of genuine respect in his eyes. Your posture grasped the true spirit. Solid physical build and great intuition. Your name, the kid steps out. Hands clasped, head held high, basically beaming with confidence. Zhou Tong, from the main lineage of the Zhou family, in Eastian. Ah, the Zhous, Zhao Gang acknowledges with a nod. Zhou Tong. Classified as a grade A disciple. Your family has raised a promising young talent. Much obliged, Steward Zhou Tong bows. With the kind of smugness that makes you want to smack that look right off his face. He knows he's the top dog here, and he wants to flaunt it to everyone. The other 5, you manage to hold position without collapsing. Gravy disciples. Then Zhao Gang's eyes finally shift over to me. I'm plopped right down on the floor, gasping for air like a busted old engine, hamming it up by rolling my eyes back into my head. His expression contorts in pure, unadulterated revulsion. As for you, nothing but brute strength. Shaking like you were on death's door. Looking like a pathetic stray, 0 technical execution. Just barely made the cut, grade C. The absolute bottom tier, just perfect. Head to the quartermaster to collect your rank tokens. And gear. Tomorrow morning, report to the training. Grounds to master the 2 foundational stances. And basic sect fist techniques. Following that, gather in the disciple quarters for chore assignments. Keep in mind, mornings are for martial arts practice. Evenings for strength training, and daytime for sect duties. If you want to learn the real deal, prove your worth. Through your labor at the supply office. 1 grade C disciple token, and 2 sets of coarse cloth uniforms. The quartermaster dumps the gear on the table, without even glancing my way, as if making eye contact with a grade C would somehow contaminate him. I creep forward, head down, meek as a beaten pup, and gather up my things using both hands. Well, look who it is, the tough guy. What happened? Was standing still for a mere half hour too tough? Ended up right at the bottom of the barrel as a grade C. That lovely voice belongs to none other than Zhou Tong, who's already slipped into his special grade, a cloud-patterned uniform. Looking sharp, looking smug, and looking incredibly punchable. Meanwhile, the 5 grade B disciples are walking out with their gear too. They take one look at my sweaty, miserable state, and don't even bother to mask their disdain. All brawn and no brains. A country bumpkin like him will be shoveling manure and chopping firewood. Yet he actually thinks he belongs in the same sect as us. They whisper and snicker without a care. But the moment their gaze shifts toward Zhou Tong, their mouths clamped shut instantly. Out of deep respect, laced with fear, they keep their distance, not daring to approach him uninvited. Zhou Tong gives them a cold smirk, then glances down at me the way you'd eyeball some cheap tool you plan to use and throw away. Enduring all of this, the insults, the mocking, and the blatant disrespect, I don't even bat an eye. I just slouch like a timid peasant who's been pushed around his entire life and simply tolerates it. Silently, I drifted aside without saying a word. No one notices what's behind my downcast eyes. Not rage, not shame, just a cold smug grin as I scan the glowing text on my retina. 2 principal stance. Not yet unlocked. 10/100. 10 points. Earned while acting like I'm completely hopeless at it, while tanking my performance on purpose. The system couldn't care less how I look. It only tracks that I put in real, genuine effort. Laugh it up, I chuckle to myself. Once I grind archery to basic mastery and condition my physique, until blades just bounce off my skin. I seriously hope you guys are still chuckling this hard when you cross paths with me in the dark. Dusk stains the Yunzhou city walls blood red, as I follow a frowning supervisor across the Baji sect estate, making our way toward the outer disciple barracks. 7 rookies cleared the entry trials today. Only 1 got ranked at grade C. Take a wild guess who. We walk through a few moon gates, and the environment takes a massive nosedive. Smooth masonry and green tiling give way to crude mud walls and drab gray roofing. The subtle hint of incense and sandalwood fades, replaced by a stale funk of old sweat, muck, and an odor that feels uncomfortably close to a cattle pen. In here, this is your bunk. The guide kicks open a door that was barely holding onto its frame. A blast of mold and rancid feet hits me like a punch to the face. Inside, there are no beds, just two long dirt ledges built along the walls, draped in soot, straw, and ragged reed mats, a dozen. Hulking guys are laid out across them like corpses. These are the veteran Grade C disciples, who've been grinding away here for God knows how long. Totally lifeless eyes. They reek of sweat and cheap medicinal herbs. One of them cracks an eye open when I step inside, decides I'm not even worth the effort to acknowledge, and goes right back to playing dead. Grade A and B disciples. Score private rooms up in the front courtyard. The manager sneers. Grade C grunts like you bunk with the old-timers. You're tough-skinned, so you won't freeze. Drop your gear, and when you hear that wooden clap or strike from the front yard, go eat. Pinching his nose, he power walks away like I'm plagued. I walk in quietly, spot the cleanest corner of the raised platform, and plop down my pathetic little bundle of gear. I've crashed in a mountain crevice frozen solid before. This joint actually has 4 walls and a roof. Plus, nothing in here is going to rip my throat out while I'm sleeping. By my standards, this is practically a luxury suite. Thunk, thunk, thunk. 3 sharp strikes of the wooden block reverberate from the front yard. Suddenly, those corpses on the platform burst to life. Every single one goes from dead asleep to ravenous, wolf-like eyes gleaming in half a second. They leap right off their bunks, some not even bothering to put shoes on right, and stampede straight out the door, shoving one another aside. I trail behind at the back, no rush. The bottom-tier chow hall is massive, easily big enough for 100 people, yet there isn't a single chair or table around. Everyone just squats or stand holding their bowls. Right in the center, several huge wooden vats sit overflowing, with steaming, unpolished rice. A pair of massive iron pots simmer over hot coals, packed with a dense, dark, and greasy meat broth. Get in line. 1 plate of rice and a single scoop of stew. You can get as much extra rice as you want, but the stew is strictly 1 portion. Anyone trying to sneak a second helping, I'll snap your bones in half. The chubby cook brandishes a metal spoon as big as a spade, shouting at the crowd. I take it all in silently from the queue. This cafeteria is usually meant just for the seasoned, lowest-ranking students, but tonight, every single 1 to 6 elite Grade A and Grade B newcomers has been dragged here as well, Zhou Tong included. It's pretty obvious the clan wants all the fresh faces to witness firsthand what rock bottom really looks like. A brutal little reality check for their orientation. Zhou Tong is hanging back by the food vats, looking like he just choked down a live toad. The food is downright nasty. There is cloudy scum on the surface, a thick, greasy coating of yellowish lard, and random slabs of unidentified, wild animal flesh still oozing with blood. Goals. Are humans even supposed to digest this? This crap is worse than hog feed. Wait, is that some dark fur swimming around at the top? One of the spoiled Grade B rookies covers his mouth, retching while complaining to his pals. Just deal with it. The coach told us that for the initial month, we have to swallow this garbage to condition our bodies. No ordering takeout under any circumstances. Zhou Tong doesn't even bother to give an answer. He looks away, gritting his teeth, clearly favoring going hungry, overtaking a single bite of that mess. Meanwhile, to my eyes, and to the eyes of every broke, impoverished older disciple packed in here, that boiling cauldron of stew seems to beam with a golden glow, just like a sacred relic. When it's finally my turn, I load up my cheap earthenware dish with a massive amount of rice. The cook dumps a heavy ladle of broth right on top, and the dark, fatty gravy drenches the grains in an instant, as several thick, bony chunks of monster meat plop into the dish, releasing a raw, wild, yet absolutely magnificent scent. I track down a corner, hunker down, and dig in. This rice is hard as a rock. A few grains scratch my throat as I swallow. The meat is incredibly tough and rubbery. I'm forced to use my back teeth to rip through it like I'm chewing on leather. I scarf it down with absolute focus and speed. Having starved out in those mountains, I know exactly what calories and protein are worth when it's a matter of survival. Sure, this stew looks nasty, stinks, and insults fine dining, but it's packed to the brim with animal fat and the concentrated power of fierce predatory flesh. To rich kids, it's trash, but for us bottom feeders, who need to build up our frames and pump our blood full of strength, it's a miracle cure. Asterisk gulp, gulp. Asterisk, I strip every bit of tendon off the bone and chug down every single drop of scalding, greasy broth. Suddenly, an intense heat explodes inside my stomach and rushes through my entire body. All the energy, I wasted lifting that stone padlock. And holding that stance comes rushing right back. The sect isn't feeding us this out of the goodness of their hearts. I chew and figure things out at the same time. They're just fattening us up, force-feeding us like cattle. They pump our veins with vitality to pack on muscle, then shove swords into our hands, and deploy us to die for the sect's business. Interests. I polish off 3 overflowing bowls, lick the final smear of grease from the edge, and wipe my mouth, totally satisfied. In the dead of night, the class. See barracks turn into a symphony of weaponized body odor and deafening snoring. It sounds exactly like a frog pond in midsummer, and reeks like something crawled into a gym bag and died. Just resting here in my corner, staring at the ceiling, sharp as a tack. Honestly, I'm not even slightly sleepy. Spending years roughing it out in the wild means I'm always on high alert in strange places. My gut is working overtime to digest those 3 bowls, cranking out waves of pure, restless heat that keep churning deep inside my belly. If I don't put this energy to use somewhere, most of it will just blow off as sweat and go to waste. All right, I slip right off the platform without making a peep. My clothes don't even rustle. It's like a dark cat stepping right out of the shadows, nudging the cracked open door just a bit. I squeeze through and glide silently out into the courtyard. The midnight breeze cuts through me like a blade, instantly flushing the foul air from my lungs. No hosetashchen. I find a sweet blind spot right behind the building, tucked deep in the shadows of the eaves. Even a night watchman, patrolling with a lantern, would cruise right on by without realizing anyone's there. Taking a deep breath of the icy air, I slowly plant my feet and dig my heels into the dirt, dropping my weight. Every single detail, from Zhao Gang's 2 principles stance, runs back through my mind in crystal clear definition. 2 principles give rise to 4 forms, sending blood and vitality pumping throughout the body. This time, I'm not faking it. No shaking, no dramatic sweating. I dial in my breathing until it's practically dead silent, making the most subtle micro-adjustments, deep within my muscles and bones. Shoulders sink, elbows drop, chest hollows out, and my spine straightens. The second the posture locks, that wild energy from the beast meat in my stomach finally finds its groove. It shifts into surging currents of burning heat, following the exact flow of the stance, pouring into my arms and legs, my spine, and my marrow. My aching muscles from today's brutal workout begin to twitch with minor, involuntary spasms, hungrily soaking up all the nourishment. I shut my eyes against the darkness. Ding! The blue interface pops up, basic archery unlocked. 890/1000. Core abilities, not yet active, 10/100. As I stand there in total silence, the digits begin ticking up, 11/12/100. Every single count delivers that flawless, steady feedback loop. A soothing heat radiates from the system, blending with the beast's vital essence. Like the most meticulous blacksmith alive, it forges and realigns my skeletal structure and muscle memory right here in the dark. I can literally feel an old injury in my lower back, something I messed up falling out in the mountains, mending under these warm, flowing currents, becoming even tougher than it was before the accident. Now, this is true power. In this strictly stratified, class-obsessed Baji sect, Grade A disciples enjoy family-sponsored medicinal feasts and elite private coaching. Grade B disciples score privileged assets. Meanwhile, a Grade C grunt like me, just a brainless pack mule, gets nothing but a single daily portion of coarse rice and beef stew. But honestly, who cares? Joe Tong's utter disdain, the manager's cold, murderous glare. I take it all on the chin without flinching, since I don't need any high and mighty masters. I don't need fancy supplements or tonics. All I need is a full stomach and a couple of peaceful hours in the dark every night. Inside this massive human meat grinder of a sect, the apex predators wear fine silk and wield steel blades, perfectly ready to stomp the bottom tier into dust at a moment's notice. If I want to avoid ending up as mere cannon fodder, if I want to stay alive, and eventually fight my way to the absolute peak, I must stay hidden, far deeper than anyone else, and be far more cutthroat than any of them. Eat their food. I condition my body 30 minutes before dawn, during the dead of night. I ease out of the stance. Can't get greedy. Pushing too hard just barks up trouble. The status panel shows 18 out of 100. A light layer of sweat drenches me completely. My bones feel incredibly light, while that explosive, tightly coiled energy surges through my muscles. It feels amazing. I wipe away the moisture, shake off the dirt, and slip like a ghost back through the cracked door into the foul-smelling barracks. I drop onto the straw, listening to the clueless chorus of snoring all around me, and gradually drift off. Tomorrow brings a whole new set of moves to master and tougher grinds to survive. But I'm not sweating it, not anymore. The morning gong doesn't even wait for the sun to fully rise before blasting through the quarters. Like an absolute divine decree, every single senior disciple bolts upright at once, looking like puppets yanked by the exact same cord. Years of brutal training have hardwired that beltamine hustle or die as pure instinct. I snap awake without feeling groggy at all. I was up till the ungodly hours practicing that hidden stance, which would normally leave a guy totally wrecked. But the system's restorative power kept mending me through the night. I feel sharp, focused, and packed with raw potential. Hey, rookie, move your tail or pay the price. A senior guy glares at me while fastening his sash. What a lovely wake-up call. Keeping quiet, I throw on my coarse blue novice robes and follow the pack out to the courtyard. The 6th grade A and B classes are already assembled. Joe Tong stands dead center, sporting a flashy, premium silk blend outfit that shimmers in the early sun like he's modeling for a portrait. His complexion looks vibrant and perfectly flushed. It's obvious he skipped last night's beef stew. His folks probably snuck him some top-tier food. Must be nice. Quiet down, Zhao. Gang appears out of nowhere up on the high stage, haunting the place like he owns it. He's rocking black combat gear today, making him look even more like a rigid spear. His sharp, hawkish eyes scan the 7 of us, lingering on me just long enough to project pure disgust. Then moving along. You've joined the Baji sect today. I am handing you the bedrock to build your lives upon. He doesn't speak loudly, yet it somehow pierces straight into your ears. Our sect is renowned for aggressive, explosive martial arts. But pure aggression breaks, while pure softness crumbles. Your initial step is establishing your body's frame. He drops from the stage, several meters up, landing without making the slightest noise, not even a faint whisper. Yesterday's lesson on the 2 primary stances was incomplete. Observe the full version today. 2 principles. 4 form steps. He begins his sequence. His feet map out perfect circles on the dirt like a compass, with every stride carrying the weight of a mountain, yet generating this peculiar, deep vibration. And whenever he inhales, his ribcage rumbles with the sound of distant thunder. My pupils narrow. The blue interface flashes instantly. Skill, 2 principal stance, full version recording. Capture successful. Current status, not yet learned. 19 out of 100. Every single detail I pieced together on my own last night suddenly clicks right into place thanks to this complete breakdown. This is way more than just staying still. There's a hidden breath control and a strategy for rebalancing your weight that completely reinvents the whole exercise. The stance builds your foundation. The strikes do the lethal work. Without missing a beat, Xiao Gang's arms whip outward, his spine flexing, unleashes a rapid-fire volley of popping noises, resembling a dragon shaking off its slumber. Baji translates to press, support, squeeze, lean. Today, I'm going to teach you the foundational, essential routine, the Baji minor frame. Don't let that minor label trick you. This is where it all begins. Master it, and you'll absolutely rule the skin-tempering stage. Screw it up, and you're dead meat. The second you face a real adversary, his forms instantly turn explosive, advance, strike, cleave. Every motion is stripped down to its bare essence. No justes flair, zero flas. Yet each compact jab seems to literally slice through the air. I can hear it tearing. Next, he executes a technique called the mountain-leaning crash. His whole body blurs into a shadow as he slams into a stone lion sculpture at the courtyard's edge. Boom! The stone lion, hewn from solid boulder, jolts off its pedestal. A visible fracture splits the base. Man just body-checked a monument, and the monument lost. Training, striking without cultivating power, is a waste of a lifetime. But this specific style trains you to sharpen your raw, brawling strength into a deadly blade. He shifts back into a neutral stance, his respiration completely steady, and scans across our group with a deadly serious look. Keep this in mind. Sharing sex styles is strictly forbidden. Anyone caught leaking secrets to outsiders or pirating arts won't just face execution. Your whole family gets dumped right into the Yunzhou River to become fish food. Am I clear? / crystal clear. The entire crowd roars back, their cries blending sheer terror with manic hype. I'm going to run through this thrice. How much you retain depends on your own luck. He starts deconstructing every single motion of the Baji minor form step by step. During the first demo, my mind becomes totally chill and focused. The UI goes wild, popping up a freshly detected capability. Logging the Bodhi minor structure. Saved. I lose my mind internally, tracking the Bodhi minor framework. Not yet unlocked 1/100. Running the second and third walkthroughs. Booting up the system's built-in troubleshooting protocol. Behind my closed eyelids, Xiao Gang fades away completely, replaced by a flawless golden outline, shifting frame by frame, rectifying every single faulty posture in my mind's eye. I can feel that monster meat vitality from yesterday evening, reacting directly to the strikes, surging straight toward my knuckles and shoulder tendons. All right, give a shot yourselves. Xiao Gang begins patrolling the courtyard with his hands clasped behind him. Zhou Tong clearly has a massive head start on this. He's likely had private combat training instructors since he was a kid. His strikes are a bit weak, but the execution is seamless, even mimicking a touch of Xiao Gang's personal flair. Not half bad, Xiao Gang mutters, passing by him. And then he heads straight over to me. Here goes nothing. Curtain up. Mid-strike, the interface is feeding me exact details on how to pivot my core and channel maximum power right into my knuckles. Uncoiling like a tightly wound metal spring. Unleashing it properly would feel absolutely incredible. Yet the very second I sense Xiao Gang's gaze lock onto me, I intentionally let my expression go a bit blank. I purposefully detach my core from the entire movement, wrecking any trace of smooth momentum and instead just shove my big clumsy arms outward in a clumsy shove. Oof, my fist slices the air with a heavy, muffled thud. Plenty of racket, absolutely zero skill. Xiao Gang freezes in his tracks, staring dead at my shapeless, clumsy, purely brute force flailing, as his brows knit together tightly like a tangled knot. Stiff shoulders, dead waist. Are you milling wheat or actually practicing martial arts? I fake a sudden flinch, letting my already awkward posture collapse entirely, and scratch my head, flashing a clueless, thick-skulled grin. My bad, sir. I just can't seem to get my stance right. Can't feel where the power goes. Can't find it all. Where did all that 300 gene strength vanish to? Did you throw it to the dogs? Xiao Gong snooch. I watched the final, fading spark of interest in his eyes die out. That slight hope that my freaky power would turn into actual martial talent. It's totally gone. Kung Fu isn't just about raw muscle. Baji Fist demands instant, explosive power, and perfectly synchronized bone and tendon activation. The absolute worst student is one with pure brawn, but zero martial instincts, just a brainless oaf. At best, you're just a meat shield for the battlefield. Nothing more. You can't carve rotten wood. He delivers that cold-blooded verdict and walks away to train a B-tier disciple, without giving me a single glance. I keep my head down, acting completely terrified, as if his harsh scolding completely crushed my fragile country confidence. But behind my downcast eyes, 2 lines of blue holographic text are dancing. Practice, 2 principles stance, serious. EXP +1 current progress. Uninitiated, 25 100ths method, Bodhi minor frame. Strength correction feedback, EXP +2 current progress. Uninitiated, 8 out of 100. The system's warm energy flows secretly through my body. Every single strike, no matter how clumsy it looks from the outside, is actually tempering the skin and muscle of my knuckles. With every tiny throb of heat. Hell yeah. Just like this, I mutter to myself, deep down where no one can hear. Let them write me off as a meathead. Let them think I'm an idiot. Deep down, a monster is waiting to tear through these low-tier disciples at a moment's notice. The only way to survive is to sharpen my fangs. Where nobody's looking, I keep throwing punches. Hulking aggressive goons. Just about every trainee passing by glares at me with pure scorn. Some are making fun of me behind my back, already betting I'll get stuck with the absolute filthiest, most brutal chores in the clan. Zhou Tong looks over at me. Now, and then from across the grounds. His face says it all. I'm just some random pebble. Tough, sure, but totally useless. Not even worth crossing radars with. Drills drag on until midday. Everyone is drenched in sweat. The sun has blasted the training ground soil into a literal oven. Oh, Xiao Gang's voice barked from above. Cold and dead-eyed. The moves have been demonstrated. Whether you get them down is on you. But this place doesn't carry freeloaders. You want your rations and allowance? Earn them. He signals with his arm, his tone sharpening like a blade. Move it. To the manager's office for duty assignments. Rank C trainees fall to the rear. I quietly drop my stance, hiding away any hint of real skill deep inside. This clumsy, the exterior. The real grind is starting now. In a dump like this, the chore you're given dictates your path. And maybe if you even make it out alive. I tag along at the very back of the pack, shuffling my feet through the dirt, walking toward the chamber that decides the destiny of every bottom-tier grunt. The midday sun is sizzling the stone, tiles outside the manager's office like a skillet. Alongside us, 7 rookies straight from the morning session. Dozens of senior disciples are already crammed into the courtyard. Today marks the quarterly rotation of duties, and everyone aiming for an easier gig has shown up to scramble for a good spot. None of us 7 Roonies have actually crossed the first martial threshold of skin tempering yet. We're all still just building up our vital energy and blood. But that doesn't keep the pecking order from kicking in early. Manager Lufo lounges on the upper steps, nursing a cold tea, and idly flipping through a bulky registry book. I'm sorting out the new crew today, so pay attention. You train for an hour each morning, then you work the afternoons. This sect has no room for freeloaders. Setting down his tea, his shifty, narrow-eyes look straight past the crowd to zero in on Joe Tong. His harsh expression instantly melts into the most intensely brown-nosing grin I've ever witnessed, just like a sunflower tracking the sun. Joe Tong, grade A, effective right now. You are moved to the inner hall, serving the elder directly and handling protection money collections over on East Long Street. Just about every senior disciple around practically turns green with jealousy. East Long Street is the absolute cash cow of the Baji sect, packed to the brim with eateries, pawnbrokers, and gambling dens. It's just a non-stop river of cash. On top of that, getting daily FaceTime with the elder guarantees one-on-one kung fu training. It's the ultimate gig. Joe Tong steps up, acting like he completely expected it. My thanks, Manager Liu. I appreciate the sect investing in my future. But of course, Lu Fu beams back, standing at the very back in the shadows. I'm watching this play out without the slightest shock. I could have seen this coming with my eyes closed. In an outfit that operates like a street gang, money is everything. Those grade. The top-tier clans likely dispatched their house managers yesterday evening with heavy bags of silver to grease the palms at Manager Liu's place. No surprise, the upcoming 5 names completely prove it. Li Fei, grade B, posted to West City's Changle District gambling house for guard duty and oversight. Jiao Qiu, grade B, posted to the South City docks to manage dock workers and check for contraband. Every single B-rank follower lands a cushy, high-status, lucrative gig. Then Lufo flips to the final page, and his smirk completely disappears. His eyes glaze over with total, blatant apathy. Wang Qing. Here, I immediately bow forward, shuffling over while playing at my best. Clueless, terrified country bumpkin act. Lufo stares down at me from his seat, like I'm dirt on his boot. Grade C. All brawn, no brains. Since you've got power to burn, go report to the Flesh and Blood Workshop, over on the south side. The second those words cross his lips, the senior disciples can barely hold back their giggles. A few actually pinch their noses in revulsion, just from hearing the title. The 5 B-rank guys look at me with pure, arrogant schadenfreude. Joe Tong doesn't even bother to look, as if my name isn't even worth his attention. The Flesh and Blood Workshop, that's the absolute worst hellhole in the entire sect. It's packed with worn-out, broken invalids whose bodies are spent. It functions as the sect's livestock slaughterhouse, where they butcher hundreds of beasts daily, even handling vicious, low-tier monsters. The workers there wade through gore all day long. By midday, their backs are completely ruined, and by nightfall, they reek so badly that even strays steer clear. Who has any energy left for training after that? This kid is completely done getting sent there on day 1. His career is over before it even got started. I take all of this in without even flinching. No sign of anger or bitterness shows on my face. I bow deeply and accept the post. Thank you, Manager Liu. Lu Fu dismisses me, already looking bored. Grab your token and get moving. The south side of Yenzhou, the Blood and Flesh Workshop. Before I can even pass through the massive black gates, a wall of pure stench hits me so hard I practically see stars. Blood, raw meat, and intestines, mixed with the singed hair smell of boiling water, blending into one horrific assault on my nose. Outside, mule carts, pile high with fresh meat, are rolling out too. Eateries and markets all over the city, in a never-ending stream. Inside, it's an absolute slaughterhouse nightmare. The floor is a swamp of dark red blood and scattered bits of organs. A dozen shirtless guys coated in grease and gore working like absolute demons. Some are hauling beast carcasses, weighing hundreds of pounds using massive iron hooks, while others swing 50-pound mallets to shatter monster bones. It honestly looks like a scene straight out of hell. Suddenly, everything clicks. Now I finally get why even the lowest tier, Class C recruitment demands bone reading, hoisting 300 gene, and holding a proper martial stance. The Baji sect has no use for weaklings to sweep floors and clean dishes. In a brutal world like this, you can hire that kind of manual labor for pocket change. What they actually need here are human-shaped beasts who can haul, hack, and process tough monster carcasses all day long. Without 300 gene of raw strength, you couldn't even budge a single body in this place, much less serve as effective muscle on the front lines. For street-level ops, the underlying strategy makes total sense to me now. Followers, like Jotong, are brought in for win-win setups. The organization grooms them. Their influential clans become partners, and everyone benefits. Even without greasing palms, those privileged brats would get first-class treatment. Meanwhile, initiates like myself fill a completely different role. We're just fodder for a ruthless screening process. They work us like dogs under the absolute worst conditions. If a guy somehow manages to pull through and grow stronger, great. The order scores a high-grade enforcer. If not, they've already milked every bit of sweat out of us. Before we burn out, most of the laborers around here are seasoned grade C recruits who managed to reach basic skin tempering ages ago, but then took hits in battle, started losing their edge, and got discarded in this place to pass their remaining days. Carving up carcasses, an unfamiliar face entering prompts a brief lull in the commotion. A hefty guy with a protruding gut ambles over to me, clutching a bloody, bone-scraping blade, and sporting a smock that might have been white once, but is now caked in permanent, dark brown grime, as rigid as a sheet of iron. This is Young Tu, the unit supervisor. He used to be a legitimate combatant, reaching the mid-tier skin tempering stage, right until he blew out his lung meridian. Now that his vital force is fading, he commands this gruesome domain, pocketing leftover scraps of offal on the sly. As his sole fringe benefit, fresh meat, he says, eyeing my slender build up and down, as he drags his blade across the cutting station with a deafening, screeching grind. I run the show here. Rule number 1 for greenhorns. First month, you handle the heaviest chores to cut the old-timers some slack. He gestures with the point of his knife toward a heap of bleached white bones are piled up in the corner. That's yesterday's take, the skeletal remains of maybe a dozen iron horn cattle. Once the premium meat got delivered to those high-end city diners, the sex kitchen claimed what was left. They want them cracked open for bone broth. That's 1,000 gene of bones. Smash every single one into splinters before sunset. If you fail, no dinner. Got it? Those iron horn cattle bones are tougher than solid rock. An ordinary blade would just shatter on impact. You have to use a massive meat cleaver and put all your back into it, shattering them one by agonizing one. The stamina drain is absolutely brutal. The veterans are just staring at me with cold amusement, not a shred of sympathy. Watching the rookie get absolutely wrecked is the sole entertainment they get in this bloody, miserable hellhole of a life. Classic day one hazing, a total power move. But here's the deal. Back during the entrance exam, I masked my true strength. See, in a cutthroat, predatory faction like the Baji sect, a gifted nobody without any powerful family connections just gets thrown straight into the meat grinder of the deadliest street turf wars and ends up dead first. Out here, talent basically means you're just disposable, high-grade cannon fodder. But down here, in this forgotten, blood-drenched pit full of washed-up butchers, playing the weakling is the exact wrong play. These thugs can scent vulnerability like sharks tracking blood. Before I know it, they'll have me hauling away raw sewage and scrubbing out filthy guts, bleeding away the precious time and energy I need for my own cultivation. I've got zero time to waste on their petty pecking order games. The strategy here requires a shift. Flaunt just enough raw dominance to force them to back off, and then leverage that breathing room to secure what I actually came for. Stepping up to the chopping block, I shrug off my outer tunic, exposing a physique that isn't overly bulky but coiled tight like cables of woven steel, and walk right past the standard issue cleavers. Nah, I head right for the massive one, an 80-pound, heavy-duty spinal cleaver that usually requires 2 grown guys tagging out to use. I hoist it up with a single hand. Oh wow, the beanpole wants to flex. Young Tu begins to sneer. Boom! The thunderous noise echoes across the whole courtyard like a cannon blast. Gripping the chopper with both hands, no form, just pure, brutal power, I slam it straight into a thigh. Bone as thick as a man's leg and tough as steel. The bone cleanly snaps right in two. Marrow sprays everywhere, but the blade keeps going, crashing into the stone grinding slab underneath. and fracturing it. Sparks fly, and the shockwave ripples through every blood-soaked bucket within a 10-foot radius. Total silence. Even the flies go quiet. The fat on Young Two's face is twitching erratically. The old-timer butchers who were ready to enjoy the show are now gawking at me like I'm some freak wearing a human disguise. They know damn well how tough Ironhorn cattle bones are. Their boss, Young Two, a mid-tier skin-tempering expert, has to unleash his full power just to crack these things. Yet I just did it with raw strength and shattered the stone beneath. Slowly, I stand up straight, yanking the cleaver out of the broken stone with one hand, and lock my icy, piercing stare right onto Young Two. I will pull my own weight around here. Stay out of my way. My voice is completely deadpan, resembling the sound of a blade scraping over freezing metal. Young Two feels that glare, and I can literally watch the color drain completely out of his face. He's a street-smart veteran who sizes people up for a living. And right now, every single survival instinct he possesses is screaming that this skinny kid is someone he absolutely cannot afford to mess with. In a real brawl, his fading, aging body might not even survive one hit from my chopper. Sure thing, brother. Seriously insane strength. He gulps heavily, instantly pivoting to a panicked, frantic grin. That fake smile and all his bravado totally vanished. Paying him no mind, I scan the courtyard holding the covered in blood cleaver firmly in my grip, spending last night inside that Great Sea bunkhouse with that chaotic mix of sweaty feet, rank body odor, and snoring like a chainsaw. I had zero personal space to practice. If I intend to level up my skills undisturbed each night, I'll need my own spot. I gesture toward a dilapidated cabin tucked away in the furthest edge of the lot, situated right beside the disused cesspool. A place so incredibly foul that even rodents avoid it. That space is mine now. Zhangxiu just blinks, and I'm taking over the graveyard shifts. Permanently on my own. Everyone freezes. The blood and flesh workshop keeps massive stockpiles of monster meat, meaning someone has to watch over it all night. To fend off thieves and wild dogs is the most despised chore, and everyone hates taking turns dealing with it. I can't stand the stench of humans. I'd much rather smell blood. I state this completely deadpan. You guys head on back to the barracks and sleep. Just leave me alone, and I'll handle every single night watch for you. You can pitch it to the boss however you like. Zhangxiu finally processes what I'm proposing, and his eyes practically pop right out of his head with excitement. Getting out of night duty for good. Plus, he gets to tell administration that the rookie offered to do it. Talk about a jackpot. Deal. It's a done deal. It's all yours. He is nodding so aggressively his double chin wobbles like jelly. The blood and flesh workshop is officially in your hands after dark, Brother Wong. Later, dusk colors the horizon, following a grueling afternoon of slaughtering. It is at long last chow time. The facility features its own modest cafeteria, nothing but a thatched hut tucked away in the courtyard. I wait in line holding my oversized bowl. The rice is the same unrefined garbage from the main hall, but the second the cook scoops the soup, my eyes widen. This broth is on a whole different level. The central mess hall only dishes out watery slop where hundreds of disciples end up, scrapping over a couple of meat pieces each. But this workshop stew is absolutely loaded with animal remains, viscera trimmings, and rich, dense marrow. The liquid is so concentrated it looks deep red and gooey. Reckon it's the sole benefit of being a low-ranked butcher, getting first dibs on the kitchen scraps. The choice cuts are sent off to high-end urban eateries, leaving the leftovers and guts to stew like this. The sheer amount of vital blood energy totally destroys whatever they serve at the main hall. Spotting a deserted spot, I hunker down and demolish a massive serving of rice and hearty meat. Stew in roughly half a minute. The boiling soup hits my gut, and a surge of warmth spreads right through my burned-out frame, washing away the exhaustion from the afternoon. Still not quite enough, though. I wipe the grease off my lips. For the old-timer butchers who just want a full stomach, this is a total banquet. But for a guy intent on grinding out martial arts training, night after night, I'm going to need way more sustenance than this. Well, I'll cross that bridge later. Once dinner wraps up, the veterans drift out in packs, dragging their completely battered bodies straight to the barracks to pass out without a single backward glance. No one gives a damn about this foul place after dark. The entire butchery workshop goes completely dead silent, leaving just me and the evening breeze, dragging the heavy scent of gore across the deserted slaughterhouse floors. I head inside my new quarters, the cabin right by the cesspool. The funk is honestly something else, but I couldn't care less. I slide the flimsy deadbolt shut behind me, shutting out every noise and all nosy onlookers. Faint moonlight filters through gaps in the ceiling and falls upon my eyes calm, cold, predatory. Hacking bones is mere grunt work. No amount of manual labor develops martial power. If I want to get stronger, I must drill stances, I must practice forms. By day, I play the submissive, brainless pack mule. By night, I turn into a cold, relentless machine, shucking off my blood-soaked outer gear, inhaling a deep breath of foul, stagnant air, and dropping into my stance, time to grind. The stink in this cabin is enough to kill a horse. But I don't even catch it now. I'm locked in, pant. In the pitch black, my feet dig into the earth. Hips pivot, spine whipping straight like a fully drawn bow flexing. Chest tucked, back straight, arms trading strikes. I execute the entire baji, small frame routine, from top to bottom. Every motion disciplined, every angle spot on. As I finish the final set, I breathe out slowly. The status board blinks. Practiced baji, small frame X1. Strength adjustment notification. EXP +1, current status. Uninitiated, 9 out of 100. That soothing recovery energy surges from deep within my spine, targeting every microscopic tear in my shoulders and core. Wrought from the training, smoothing them out like flattening creases on a shirt. Exhaustion vanishes, overtaken by that addictive sensation of vitality and progression once more. My gaze gleams through the dark like a predator. That's not a taste of blood. Most people train martial arts hunting for a feeling. In flashes of insight, they throw 10 strikes. And maybe a single rep lands right. Even worse. Faulty practice just accumulates chronic injuries. I don't deal with that issue. Heaven rewards effort is the ultimate absolute, and the absolute perfect mentor. Wrap up a whole routine with the base form solid, and it's a guaranteed point of progress. Flaws are auto-corrected, and all damage gets repaired. No hitting walls, and zero risk of going mad from chi deviation. Just pure, unadulterated returns on whatever effort you put in. In this brutal world where human lives are treated like dirt, and inside this cutthroat sect, that absolute certainty is the sole lifeline I can hold on to. 50 reps, 60, 70. My feet have dug 2 shallow grooves right into the dirt floor. My clothes are completely drenched and clinging to my skin. Every breath I exhale turns to thick, white vapor. Yet, I'm totally locked in, drunk on the sheer thrill of watching the metrics climb, seeing my own strength surge in real time. 80, 90. I brace myself again with gritted teeth. I feel unstoppable. Like if I just push through, I can break right into the initiated tier by tonight. Zeptin muy high. I sink my shoulders and drop my elbows. Getting ready to, then everything goes sideways. Ugh, my sight goes pitch black. Golden sparks burst across my eyes like fireworks. And then an agony unlike anything I've ever known explodes in my gut. It doesn't feel like an illness. It feels like my stomach sprouted a maw of jagged fangs and began tearing itself apart from within, desperately scavenging for any remaining scrap of fuel. My legs give out instantly with zero warning. I collapse to my knees in the blood-soaked mud, my spine locking up. Cold sweat streams down my forehead like a waterfall. Every single muscle that was bursting with power a moment ago is now trembling uncontrollably, resembling brittle wood on the verge of snapping. Suddenly, the display flashes. Not in its standard serene blue, but a hostile, throbbing crimson. Warning, extreme physical exhaustion. Vital energy and blood critically depleted. Continued forced training will grant zero experience and will tank my lifespan for good, ruining my martial foundation past the point of no return. Biting my lip, I claw desperately into the dirt until my fingers sink 2 knuckles deep. I just lie there face down in the muck for a solid 15 minutes, mustering up just enough juice to flip over and prop myself up against a decaying wall. Phew, phew. Pant, pant. I listen to my ragged breath, which sounds like a busted pair of bellows. My mind gradually snaps out of that frenzied beast mode grind and locks in a cold, hard logic. I was looking at heaven rewards diligence way too simplistically. Clutching my throbbing, empty gut, I let out a bitter laugh. Sure, the system bypasses talent caps and cultivation bottlenecks, but it can't just manifest energy out of thin air. Every single rep of the Bodhi minor frame drains every muscle and bone in my body, and that soothing, restorative warmth the system pumps out, that's no free magical handout. It's literally converting my body's own stored reserves. Conservation of energy, basic physics from my previous life. Duh, I should have remembered that. If martial cultivation is a blazing fire, then heaven rewards diligence is the ultimate furnace. Zero waste, meaning every scrap of fuel gets completely incinerated. But man, you still need fuel to burn. Without it, the furnace starts consuming the actual structure itself, which translates to my blood, my vital energy, and my lifespan. Hold up, though. Back on Green Ox Ridge, I practiced basic archery all night long and never hit a wall like this. Why is that? I scowl, pondering for a couple seconds, and the realization hits me like a splash of ice water. A sudden shiver runs straight down my spine. Archery is strictly an external discipline. It mostly burns raw stamina and upper body strength. Plus, back in those days, I was stuffing my face with whole ironhide rabbits and plump wild boars. At every single meal, just massive, high-protein caloric intake. But the Bodhi minor frame and those two foundational stances turn focuses on internal body tempering martial arts. The energy cost is on a whole new level. It completely aligns with what Zhao Gang taught this morning. The body skin tempering phase isn't some unrefined, low-grade routine of scrubbing yourself with sand and taking hits from wooden sticks. Internal styles condition your body from the inside out. The breathing patterns within the stance, synchronized with the vibrations from your punches, generate high-frequency tremors deep within your muscle and bone tissues. These deep vibrations stimulate the dermal membrane, forcing blood circulation to kick into overdrive until the outer layers of old skin finally peel away to reveal a new layer as tough as cowhide, making it totally blade-resistant. What insane technique. But damn, the stamina drain is a straight-up bottomless pit, miles ahead of archery practice. The only reason I pulled off 92 repetitions tonight wasn't because that workshop meal was exceptionally packed with nutrients. My pupils shrink as the terrifying reality sinks in. It's actually because I blew through every single ounce of wild beast meat energy that had been building up inside my bone marrow. Over 3 months of mountain hunting, every bit of it wiped out in a single evening. The system has zero bottlenecks, meaning if I train blindly, it'll gladly burn me to a crisp like tossing a whole human being straight into a furnace. Martial arts is definitely a rich man's game. The old-timers weren't kidding. Let me crunch the numbers from yesterday. Half an hour of stance holding yielded roughly 10 points, while one full repetition of the minor frame awards a single point. Basic initiation requires 100 points. Minor mastery demands 1,000. So what about major mastery? 2,000? 5,000? 10,000? To grind just this single elementary skill from scratch all the way to absolute perfection could easily take 10 to 20,000 full repetitions, with every single rep draining pure calories and vital blood essence. Just like Xiao Gang said, hitting minor mastery in both forms and punching methods means entering the early skin tempering stage. Major mastery matches the mid-tier, while complete mastery is the late phase. Typical disciples spend roughly 2 years hitting early skin tempering. Spoiled rich kids like Zhou Tong, backed by top-tier food, medicated baths, and raw talent, can pull it off within a year. Produce Zhou Tong already got a head start before even arriving, so his breakthrough is probably right around the corner. But what about me? Even if I slack off and only pull 10 progress points a day, that is only about 100 days. Just over 3 months to reach early skin tempering. Contrasted with normal folks, or even Zhou Tong, I'm way ahead, and I'm no slacker. I'm a total grinder. My actual pace will leave that 3-month mark in the dust. That thought really calms my nerves, but I'm done for the night. One more repetition will straight up kill me. I force my jelly-like legs to stand up, stumble toward the water clay pot in the corner, and chug. The freezing water desperately trying to quiet the fierce hunger raging inside my gut. Tomorrow, I stare at the chilly moonlight, pouring through the window pane, my gaze intense and unwavering. Tomorrow night, I will map out my absolute boundaries, fueled by nothing but those standard 2 daily meals. Just how many reps of each drill can this body actually take before harming my physical foundation? I need that baseline. Only with pinpoint data can I plot my journey ahead. The night breeze howls through the cracks of my roof, bringing with it the heavy stench of fresh blood and marrow. My nose twitches. Slowly turning, I peer through the shattered glass at the massive butchery courtyard outside, basking in the moonlight. The heavy stone-cleaving blocks shimmer a deep crimson. Massive piles of beast carcasses, scraps, and trimmings, along with rejected meat, are stacked high against the walls like miniature mountains. To the sect, it's just worthless junk. To the old butcher, it's rancid waste. But to me, that exact amount of trash is the exact fuel needed to smash past my physical limitations, satiate this energy deficit, and condense a decade of grinding into just a few months. That ain't garbage, it's my fast track to power. Before dawn, as a faint gray light barely hits the sky, I'm already up. I dump a whole bucket of freezing well water straight over my head to wash that slaughterhouse stench right out of my nose. Works well enough. Next, I start jogging from the bloody meat, processing shop down in South City, heading straight for the main compound for morning drills. It's a half-hour run each way, but don't get it twisted. This isn't some grueling ordeal. It's just my warm-up. By the time I reach the yard, I've broken a nice, light sweat. Absolutely perfect. Passing those early morning market stalls is pure torture. Freshly steamed meat buns, piping hot lamb soup. Everything smells amazing. Practically custom-made to torment a starving guy. I force myself to swallow my spit like 15 times and push on. Once at the training grounds, dozens of fellow disciples are following the coach through the standard Bodhi minor frame routine. I sneak into the very last row like a total ghost. Everyone else is trying their hardest to look like legit martial artists, chests puffed out, backs perfectly straight, throwing punches with sharp authority. Even the uncoordinated guys are at least trying to look badass. But not me. I keep my shoulders slouched. Every strike I throw lands with this flat, lifeless, heavy thud. My hip rotation is incredibly stiff. Honestly, it looks like my spine is totally welded shut. I pass exactly for some old farmer blindly hacking away at a stubborn rock with a hoe in a muddy field. Meanwhile, Zhao Gang paces casually through the ranks, clasping his hands behind his back. As he walks by Zhao Tong in the front row, he gives an approving nod. Zhao Tong, decked out in crisp silk training gear, moves with fluid, effortless grace, and there is even a subtle, dark shimmer glinting beneath his skin, courtesy of those pricey medicinal bats his folks fund daily. Going at this pace, he'll crack the skin-tempering stage in a fortnight. But then, Zhao Gang's gaze wanders to the back row and locks onto me. His face instantly sours, like he just bit into a lemon, and he snaps his eyes away. Just raw, clumsy farm strength. Hips as stiff as solid iron. His comprehension is so pathetic he'll never amount to anything more than a cheap street thug beating up drunks. I can practically hear him drafting my future obituary, checking out that cold, dismissive glare. I don't break character for a second. Kept the same cadence, same clumsy-looking swings, same heavy panting. Pure sound effect from throwing wild strikes with zero form. I even put some extra muscle into it to make the wind whoosh louder. Since nothing screams harmless chump, quite like a guy who mistakes volume for actual skill. In a cutthroat sect like this that swallows people whole, an average Joe, without a dime or a family backing him, only survives by playing the part of a totally uninspiring, basic meathead. The prominent tree is always the first to be snapped by the wind. It's only by keeping low in the foul mud that you can secretly anchor your roots deep. Morning drills wrap up. I charge straight for the cafeteria alongside the other grade C peasants, instantly devouring 2 bowls of coarse rice, licking every solitary drop of grease from my lone scoop of meat broth, wiping my mouth, and rushing right back to the workshop. I've got critical matters to attend to today. High noon, and the kitchen smells worse than a slaughterhouse. Pick up the pace, the lot of you. This load of red-scale pork has to hit Chongqing restaurant before mid-afternoon. Anyone running behind. I'm gonna fly. Zhang Xiao is brandishing his boning knife, brawling at the seasoned butchers with grease running down his chin. Then he catches sight of me heading to my station. His fleshy face twitches instantly, and the insult. He was ready to hurl dyes right in his throat. Forcing a clumsy, fake grin, he goes, "Ah, Brother Wong, no rush, take it easy. Those iron horn bones are brutal. Take your time, don't go busting your hands." The memory of me shattering that stone slab yesterday is clearly still messing with his head. Appreciate it, Chief. I don't even glance up. I grab the 80-pound cleaver and get cracking. Bang! A leg bone thicker than a man's thigh snaps clean in two. The old-timer butchers don't even blink anymore. They've already clocked the hierarchy here. The boss is terrified of me, so they're sure as hell not looking for trouble. But what nobody spots is that my hacking method today is subtly different from yesterday's pure, brute force bashing. Having spent months tracking in the mountains, I know animal anatomy inside and out. Where it's thin, where it's dense, and where the joints are weakest. Crack. This time, with a slight flick of my wrist, I slam the spine of the blade right into the most fragile seam of the bone joint. The tough outer shell bursts apart, exposing the deep red, rich, glistening marrow tucked inside. Gorgeous stuff. Twirling the blade, I act like I'm about to mince the bone to pieces. But as the knife comes down my left hand, clutching a grimy rag, nonchalantly sweeps across the chopping block. That choice hunk of bone marrow, along with a few stray shards and blood, gets brushed accidentally into the scrap bin beneath the counter. The exact same goes for the dark purple clots, which solidify close to the hearts of newly butchered beasts. I scrape them off the block using the side of my blade, pretending I'm just tidying up my station, and toss them in the scrap bin. After 30 minutes of this, Young finally sits up from his recliner. Brother Wong, he says, pointing at my trash bucket, with an awkward cough. That iron horn marrow stinks pretty bad, sure, but you could salvage it and take it back to the barracks to melt down into lard. Why are you chucking it all? He's not looking for a fight. He's just ticked I'm wasting goods he could pocket for himself. I cease my hacking. I pivot around slowly, still gripping the bloody 80-pound chopper in one hand, and stare at him with completely dead, vacant eyes. Lost control of my strength a bit ago. I gesture toward a pool of green sludge on the cutting board. First a hog's gallbladder and gut sack. Bile and crap splattered all over that marrow. I take one deliberate stride forward, letting the massive cleaver dangle loosely in the air, right near his face. But if the boss thinks it's a shame, I can rummage through the muck bucket later, fish out the dung-marinated marrow, give a quick rinse, and you can have it for supper tonight. The guy's eyelid twitches violently. He gapes at the shining 80-pound edge hovering by his nose, then vividly imagines a dish of pig manure-flavored bone marrow, and the tea he just drank threatens to make a sudden, ugly comeback up his throat. No, no, no. He shrinks back into his seat, shaking both hands in a panic. Trash is trash. If the crew gets a whiff of swine crap in their meals, they'll blame me. Just get back to your cutting. No problem. I pivot back and get right to it, a faint, secret smirk dancing behind my eyes. We call this acceptable losses. Wield the biggest blade, spin the grandest tale. The whole afternoon flies by. I hack through over 1,000 gene of tough bone all on my own. Come evening, I offer to haul the pair of heavy waste buckets, crammed with blood, shreds, and debris. Let me take care of the gross stuff, boss. Chief Zhang Air's face beams with pure joy. Brother Wong, you're a real solid guy. Much obliged. I love the containers. Around to the rear of my cabin, near the waste trench. I make absolutely certain that no one is around, then slide a pristine bamboo cylinder from my waistband. Without batting an eye at the sickening sludge, my hands plunge right in like surgical tools, rummaging through the muck. In just moments, I've skimmed out every bit of deep crimson bone marrow, and every thick, dark clot of beast heart blood, stowawaying them neatly inside the bamboo cylinder. This junk looks and reeks completely vile. To the sect, it's trash. To the meat cutters, it's sewage. But to me, it's prime fuel for my martial arts advancement. The nutrient-rich superfood that will max out my blood reserves and let me pull late-night grind sessions. At twilight, the veteran butchers wrap up their mess hall supper, a massive serving of dense, fatty beef scrap broth. They trade raunchy jokes and haul their exhausted bodies straight back to the quarters. I down my own bowl of rich stew alongside the crew, then sneak off to my quarters, locking the entry, jamming a heavy rock against it just to be safe. Time to brew. I retrieve a damaged earthenware basin from beneath my cot, pile up some fractured masonry into a crude hearth in the corner, and fire up a couple lumps of ironwood coal. I pinch from the courtyard, dump everything from the bamboo tube into the bone marrow, toss in beast heart blood clots, a splash of water, lid on, and cook. As things heat up, the pot starts bubbling, and the stench coming out is truly spectacular. Just imagine boiling rotten cow intestines that someone left baking in the sun for a week. Inside a summer sewer. If I tried cooking this back at the main compound, I'd get reported for practicing dark sorcery within the hour. But this happens to be the blood and flesh workshop, right next to the waste pit. The permanent background funk of decades. Old decaying organs. Works like nature's perfect camouflage. My cooking odor just vanishes into the ambient horror, like a faint whisper in a thunderstorm. You could stroll right past my door and never notice a thing. Half an hour later, I pop the lid. The liquid has mostly boiled off. What's left is half a pot of thick, deep purple sludge with a slick of blood oil floating on top. No salt, no ginger, zero seasoning of any kind. It looks like a hex some witch would curse you with. I don't even blink, grabbing the scalding pot with rag-wrapped hands. I tilt my head back and chug the entire mess straight down my throat. Man, it's like swallowing a ball of molten lava. A violent, scorching wave of energy explodes in my gut. This is nothing like that watered-down cafeteria slop. This is raw, concentrated primal power. My scalp crawls. Every single pore on my body bursts open at once, sweating out hot perspiration that reeks of blood. The energy deficit from last night's crash is instantly filled, overfilled even. I feel like a balloon being pumped way past its limit. There's so much power, it actually hurts, since it has nowhere to go. Time to grind. I chuck the jar into the corner. My boots slam against the dirt. Last night, I hit 92 reps before I passed out. Just 8 more left to break through to the initiated level. Heavy breathing in the pitch black. My vision sharpens. Hips and waist lock together into a single engine. As I dive into the Baji minor frame form. This is nothing like that clumsy farm boy act from earlier today. Each strike rips through the air with a muffled sonic pop. Every single move is precise, explosive, and deadly. Zap Mut. EXP +1. Current progress. 93 out of 100. Zap High. EXP +1. With this jar of marrow paste backing me up. I'm a literal perpetual motion machine. Zero exhaustion, zero pain. Zap Bai. Zap Dam. As I hit the final closing stance of the 8th rep, the scalding blood energy surging inside me peaks at the exact perfect moment. My mind explodes with a flash of golden light. The blue status panel ripples like water. The words, "Not yet initiated," shatter and reform. Ding. Baji minor frame breakthrough. Initiated. Current progress. Initiated 1, first, 0, 0, 0. Humming sound. A strange vibration ripples out from deep within my core, like a bowstring snapping. This isn't mind tricks. I can literally feel it. My bones and muscles are starting to give off a high-frequency micro-tremor. These tiny internal pulses act like thousands of miniature rasps, grating and refining the inner layers of my skin. Hissing sound, my entire skin surface flushes a deep crimson. A massive wave of stinging agony, as if I'm being pierced by 10,000 needles all at once, surges through every single square inch of my body. I clench my jaw so hard that my teeth creak, but I don't let out a single peep. This is the real deal, the core of internal martial arts. Forging the exterior from the inside out. The trial by fire that you have to survive to take. A real step toward the skin-tempering realm. The agony lasts for about 10 minutes, before ebbing away like the tide. Panting and soaked in sweat, I look down at my arms. Beams of moonlight filter through the gaps in the roof, revealing a dark, grayish layer of dead skin, wrapping around my body, giving my arm a hard rub. Sheets of dead skin peel away in thick rolls. It reminds me of those gross, exfoliating scrubs at a bathhouse, except multiple layers are sloughing off to reveal new skin beneath. It is no longer that sickly, yellowish tint I've carried around since arriving here, but a subtle bronze hue that looks visibly tougher. Picking up a broken roof tile, I scrape its sharp edge forcefully across my forearm. Just yesterday, that would have sliced me open and drawn blood. Now, the shard leaves nothing behind but a faint white scratch. Holy crap, this is insane. I can't stop grinning like a complete psychopath. Yet the biggest shocker is still to come as the status screen updates. Right at the very top, the remaining lifespan digits shift. Lifespan, 1754-1755. Gazing at those numbers, my breath hitches. 54 just jumped to 55, an entire extra year of life. All from raising a basic boxing style to the initiated tier. I remember vividly when I first crossed over to this world. Starting out in the wilderness, my absolute life expectancy was capped at 52. After months of consuming beast meat and restoring my health, it bumped up to 54. And now, simply by training a technique so generic that every street punk knows it, I've literally clawed a year back from the grave. Longevity. Martial arts can grant longevity. My breathing grows heavy and erratic. In this absolute dumpster fire of a world, people drop dead constantly. A harsh chill, a local turf war, or a boss throwing a tantrum. Any of it can take you out. Ordinary folks who manage to survive past 60 celebrate like they just hit the mega jackpot. I used to think Kung Fu was just a way to grow strong, enough to score decent food, and avoid getting butchered like cattle, but right now, looking at that extra year of life, I've finally unlocked the ultimate mystery hidden deep inside. All martial cultivation. It's about seizing the power of heaven and earth, stealing the cosmic secrets of the sun and moon. Fighting isn't just for killing people. It actually extends your lifespan for real, measurable, extra time on earth through immortality cultivation. Reaching initiated in fist technique grants 1 year. What if the stance forms hit initiated? What about minor success or major success? Total mastery? What if I break through all 5 gates and achieve the legendary blood transmutation realm? Staring down at my blood-stained hands. They're filthy, scarred, and absolutely bursting with life force. My smile spreads so wide that it actually hurts. The gateway to the grand path of longevity. just swung open. For a bottom-feeding nobody like me. Still, tonight isn't just for celebrating. I still need solid data. Time to figure out my daily training limit. Now that this bonus marrow paste is in the mix. Dropping back into the 2 core stances. I start timing it. Half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. The remaining marrow essence gets wrung out drop by drop, turning into a healing warmth that repairs my body. By the time I finally hit the 2-hour mark, my legs are shaking, and the panel reads not yet initiated. 66 out of 100. That familiar, gut-wrenching exhaustion starts creeping back in, so I stop right away. Gotta cool down smoothly. Drenched in sweat from head to toe, my eyes are still bright. Got the metrics. Flop down onto my wooden cot and start running the numbers. Tonight's half jar of marrow paste, along with 2 standard meals. Backed up 8 rounds of boxing drills, plus 2 solid hours of stance training. That brings in about 50 progress points. All thanks to that extra food alone. Throw in the usual morning workout and breakfast, and my safe daily limit, without messing up my core foundation, caps out at around 60 mastery points a day. 60 points daily if I pour it all into fist techniques. That's under 20 days to clear the 1,000 point milestone and elevate the Bodhi minor frame to initial mastery. Then maybe another 20 days tops for the 2 main stances to reach initial completion, which means what takes ordinary people 2 agonizing years of grinding to pull off. And what takes a golden boy like Joe Tong, with all his herbal baths and family wealth, a whole year. I can wrap up in less than 40 days. 40 days. That's not just fast training, that's straight up robbery. Plus, every single breakthrough tax years on my life. This isn't just some sweet deal. This is the absolute best bargain ever. This absolute dump can't keep me trapped much longer. I shove the busted pot into the corner. Don't even bother stripping off my clothes, and collapse wide open on the stiff wooden bed like a starfish. Somewhere outside, a stray cat screeches. I let out a deep, satisfied, blood-tinged burp, and drift right off to sleep with a grin.